Bears has won 2 division championships and an NFC championship in 2006. Jim Schwartz, in his first year as head coach with the Lions, spent the last 8 years as defensive coordinator in Tennessee. Detroit won the toss, elected to receive, so Robbie Gould bangs it away. And Aaron Brown coming up to get the short kick, bobbles it at the 11, but crosses the 25, and that's where he's dragged down. Quarterback Matthew Stafford, 21 years old, out of Highland Park, Texas, a #1 pick in this year's draft out of the University of Georgia, coming off a rock-solid effort in the victory over the Redskins last week. Hit on 21 of 36 for 241 yards after struggling in the first 2 games, including those 5 interceptions.
Well, he showed he was the undisputed leader of this team now last week, and he's going to have to see if they can extend that now on the road against the Chicago Bears.
Some question as to whether or not Kevin Smith would start today. He is in the backfield, and Stafford looking for the long ball, and it's caught on the far sideline by his favorite target, Calvin Johnson, the electrifying third-year receiver out of Georgia Tech.
Perfectly thrown ball, obviously off coverage by the corner. Just a little stutter move with a perfect aiming point down the field. Last week we talked about Matthew Stafford throwing kind of a flat, deep ball, Tom. He had just the right amount of air on that one.
A 54-yard pass completion, Stafford to Johnson on the opening play from scrimmage, and what a start for the Lions. This is Kevin Smith, who rushed for better than 100 yards last week in the win over the Redskins, despite the fact that he had to leave the game with an injured shoulder midway through the third quarter. We'll keep an eye on Smith today.
Well, Calvin Johnson's already had it. He's their big gun. Brandon Pettigrew, the rookie tight end, needs to have a larger and larger role to help open up the coverage for the big guy outside, Calvin Johnson.
Maurice Morris is checked into the backfield, replacing Kevin Smith. On a 2nd and 11, they put it in the hands of Johnson, who slips one tackle and then is run down by Danielle Manning, the starting free safety. Defensively for the Bears, they're fine up front. The linebacking core is in disarray. They've already had injuries this season to Brian Urlacher out for the year. No Hunter Hillenmeyer. So Nick Roach, along with Lance Briggs and Jamar Williams, the linebacking core. Williams is his 2nd career start.
That puts a lot on Lance Briggs' plate to sort those linebackers out, and the secondary with a rookie at safety, Al Afalava, starting for the Bears.
An early 3rd down try for Stafford. Finds the tight end Casey Fitzsimmons, but he's run out of bounds at the 21, short of the 1st down. And on comes the field goal unit for the Lions.
As we said in the open, the 3rd down conversions were huge last week for Detroit. This is a bit of a win for the Chicago defense after giving the big play up to Calvin Johnson to start. To hold them to 3 here, this is a minor win for the Chicago Bear defense.
Jason Hanson, among the all-time great field goal kickers, has hit 17 consecutive field goal tries, dating back to last year, this from 40 yards out. And as is more times the case, right down the middle, there is a flag on the far side of the field. And the Lions are pointing at the Bears, and if it is indeed against Chicago, this will be an automatic 1st down.
Always an interesting call to take points off the board if you're in a situation
offside,
where
24 defense, 5-yard penalty results in a 1st down.
Wow,
huge.
That's a rookie, Al Afalava.
Lovie Smith will be none too pleased about that. Your defense comes in after giving a big play. They hold their ground, force a team to a field goal, and now a misalignment on a field goal rush team gives them a new set of downs inside the 20.
So they spot it at the 17. 1st and 10, and Stafford and company back on the field, as is Kevin Smith, who's in motion. Pump fake one way, and a A wide open Calvin Johnson is missed by Stafford. Wow. He couldn't have been more open.
Well, he knew where he wanted to go. He moved the safety with his vision going to the left because he knew he was coming back. You can see here, watch the quarterback in the drop. Watch him look off the defense. Gets to the top of his drop. Now comes back to the right. He knew exactly where he wanted to go. He wants that throw back desperately.
Blown dead before it ever got started. Looked like early movement on the right side of the Lions' offensive line.
Chicago is
Full start, 77. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Okay, you're going to see movement right here by the left side here. I'm not sure which one is that. There you go right there. A little bit of a flinch. Chicago, Tom, is very active with its front seven. Moving linebackers in and out, puts a lot of pressure on the linemen to communicate, not listening to the quarterback. You get a false start.
Bunch formation off the right side. And they give it to Smith. And he is corralled at the line of scrimmage by Alex Brown. And a flag comes in late. Thought for a moment it might have been a horse collar penalty.
Well, they were calling for it. The guard that pulled out there is calling for it. I'm not sure if he got the collar or the face mask.
Foul, face mask, defense. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Here you can see, comes in. The guard doesn't get there quick enough, reaches up right there around. Boy, I don't know. That is not a face mask, nor did he get the horse collar. In order for it to be a horse collar, the hand has to go in between the pads and the back of the ball carrier. That's a questionable call. Lovie Smith knows it.
Second huge penalty on this opening drive for the Lions. The quick slant is caught inside the 5 by Bryant Johnson, who had a big game last week against the Redskins. 4 receptions, 73 yards, including a touchdown.
Here, just one-on with receiver down in the red zone. To get this kind of one-on-one off coverage is rare. Typically, the Bears are going to play a 4-across soft zone, but they're seeing a lot of man-on-man or one-on-one defense, and against a Calvin Johnson, I don't know that's a smart thing to do.
Well, that was a huge penalty. Huge call a moment ago. They give it to Felton, the fullback. And he has a first down inside the 3. They'll spot it close to the 1. And it's 1st and goal for Detroit.
You get down onto the goal line right now and you think about the Bears, that they're deficient in the linebacking core a little bit, or I shouldn't say deficient, but they don't have a lot of starters there. I'm not sure that Scott Lanahan's not going to try to just shove this thing right into the end zone here, take advantage of the Bears' lack of depth in their linebacking core.
Smith trying to lunge into the end zone, and he does. Touchdown, Detroit. 2 huge penalties. One on a field goal try by Jason Hanson that gave him an automatic first down. And then on a 2nd down and long, the face mask flagged against Alex Brown gave Detroit an automatic first down, and they cash in with a touchdown.
Well, clearly a 4-point swing here with the offsides by the special teams, and a little bit, in my opinion, a bogus call to give them the big personal foul.
Hanson for the point after. It is good. So a good start indeed for Kevin Smith and the Detroit Lions. Winners last week. And on their opening drive, they punch it in Chicago.
First
to score the touchdown rather than the field goal. And by the way, that 54-yard gain on the pass play to Johnson, the first time the Lions have had a pass play of over 25 yards in almost 170 plays. This is Kevin for Johnny Knox out to the 27-yard line. Jay Cutler, off to a great start for the Bears, gets the ball for the first time when we come back.
Hey, it's Jimmy Football. Hey, do you know what's wrong with your...
Start getting by Bud Light. With just the right taste, it's not too heavy, not too light. The difference is drinkability.
You know about Jay Cutler in the season opener against Green Bay, threw 4 interceptions in a Chicago loss. Told his teammates that will not happen again. He's thrown 5 touchdowns against 1 interception since, and his first throw today is caught by Earl Bennett, a former teammate of Cutler's at Vanderbilt University. Take a look at the rest of the Chicago lineup. Matt Forte, his season high, just 66 yards rushing.
Well, and you're going to see here that the tight ends, Greg Olsen, 82, and Desmond Clark, 88. In combination, they're Jay Cutler's #1 guy.
Second down, they hand it off to Forte. To the 40. 1 man to beat. Inside the 20. To the 10. Shoved out of bounds at the 5.
Well, that'll get your running numbers healthy real quick. We said they had to get Matt Forte. Just a subtle ISO delay here with a subtle cutback by Matt Forte. Finds himself in the hole, and then Matt Forte, more speed because of the long stride. He's faster than people think. As you can see here, tough time for Louis Delmas, the rookie, trying to catch up with him.
First and goal, and Forte met at the line of scrimmage, maybe lost a yard, and there are all kinds of changes for Detroit because of injury. They don't have Sammy Hill. They don't have Dwayne White up front. And Cliff Avrill's not played in the last 2 weeks. Now, he's back today, but right now not on the field. So Landon Cohen and Jason Hunter start up front. Ernie Sims back, missed his first game as a pro last week.
Jay Cutler checking to something here. I would bet he's batting down the hatches. Nope. Greg Olsen outside. This is the matchup you want to watch right here.
There it is. He caught it, but he's out of bounds.
This is the force out rule. We've seen it. Obviously, there is no force out rule anymore. You got to have both feet end up in bounds. Doesn't matter what the DB does to you. You got the matchup you want, right? You got a matchup on Greg Olsen. Didn't even touch him. Clearly not in bounds. Louis Delmas, one-on-one on the coverage. This is the rookie. Was NFL Rookie of the Month, Defensive Rookie of the Month last month. So obviously they have a lot of confidence in him lining up one-on-one on Greg Olsen.
On 3rd and goal, Cutler being chased and has some room. Dives into the end zone. How about that?
Waiting to see if there's...
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I've not seen a signal.
I didn't see a signal yet.
I haven't either.
But they did. They must have. They're trying to slow it down right now. We missed it then because it is a touchdown. They're lining it up for the extra point. Just scrambling outside the pocket here. Now going back to shades of a Commodores at Vanderbilt now. This is, you don't want to see your quarterback do this. This is, you see the ball come flying out. You're going to dog cuss him if it's anything, but it's a touchdown. You love the emotion. You love the passion. Son, I love you right now. They're telling him, great job. Don't do that again, okay?
Point after now by Robbie Gould is good. And for the Bears, the first points they scored in the first quarter this season.
Hey, if you're thinking of getting a truck, do your buddies a favor and try out the back seat where they...
Seven, couple of big plays already. The 61-yard run by Matt Forte on the Lions' opening drive. First play from scrimmage. A 54-yard pass completion to Calvin Johnson. And now the Lions will get it back. And this is Aaron Brown from the 2. And a nice return out to the 29-yard line. Well, weekdays make lunchtime your new prime time as FoxSports.com brings you lunch with benefits, including Coach Speak with the coach, Brian Billick.
Tuesday, 1 o'clock. We can ask Jim Schwartz. I got him on Tuesday. We can.
Strikeouts just dominated the Tiger hitters for the second game. Post pitch didn't get it from Nelson.
Taking another look at it, Castro wants it inside, but this ball looks a bit down.
And the 1-2. That ball is ripped hard, foul.
Bryant Johnson, let's go back to the touchdown.
Well, this is just playing the game. You want this out of your quarterback. Maybe he learned this in that time he was in Denver, watching all that John Elway, a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And watch the response. This is why you do this as a quarterback. Look at that. They are fired up. They know he is the unquestioned leader of this team with plays like that.
Pass play went for 11 yards a moment ago, so another first down. And Smith is dragged down by Nick Roach. And a flag is down on the play. This might be another face mask penalty. We'll see. This one might be on Smith.
We'll have to see. It looks like maybe the defender got his hand in there, but that will happen as the ball carrier extends that hand out for the old stiff arm. Don't see a lot of it anymore in this league. Let's see what they're sorting out.
Personal foul, grasping the face mask, 34, offense. 15-yard penalty, still first down.
And evidently that's what it was. You don't see it called a lot on the offensive side. We'll see if we can hear as he reached out. Yep, he's clearly got a hold of it. With those pink gloves, it's not hard to miss. Obviously turn the head just like if it were in reverse and the defender turns the face mask of an offensive player. That one clear cut. Good call by the officials.
The first down and 25 as they're backed up to their own 23. Maurice Morris slips the tackle, cuts it back to the inside and brings it out to the 37-yard line. A pleasure to be joined. The third member of our team today is Chris Mudd.
3, give up a double, and only give up 1. That is a very fortunate inning.
White Sox baseball is brought to you by Toyota.
First time they scored in the opening quarter. Lovey's upset that his defense didn't get the message, but he said he doesn't have to yell to get the point across. They want to start fast. Hunter Hillemeyer also said in preparing for Matthew Stafford, they didn't treat him as a rookie, given the way he's played the first few weeks, so they may not be blitzing as much in this game.
They got a piece of him there, but he's able to lay it off to Aaron Brown. And how about that? After starting 1st and 25 after the personal foul on Smith, they convert on second down. It's first down at midfield.
And these are the kind of sustained drives we saw last week, Tom, them overcoming long down and distance counts. They converted a couple 3rd and long. Stafford actually running for a 3rd and 13. That's a big play when you start behind the count at 1st and 25.
Go one way, give it to Johnson the other way, and he has lots of daylight. That is an 11-yard gain on the run by Calvin Johnson. Right now for a game break, let's go to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Redskin quarterback Jason Campbell sacked twice and fumbled on the opening drive, and the Bucs take advantage. Josh Johnson making his first NFL start, and his first drive gets his first touchdown, a pass to Antonio Bryant, and they lead it 7-0. Tom and Bryant.
Boy, how about that? We saw the Redskins last week.
Boy, that's a lot going on down there. Now let's watch the Bears linebackers peppering in and around the front here. So far it's cost them a couple times. Very active front seven.
Again, a wide open receiver. This time it was the big tight end Brandon Pettigrew. And Stafford missed him.
Tom, we're going to talk about it all day long. We did last time. One thing Matthew Stafford does is he throws a little bit of a flat down the field ball. He needs to get just that little bit of air. We'll try to show you as we move along. A flat pass like that down the field has got to be laser accurate. It doesn't give the receiver much room to run underneath the pass. He's got to develop that.
2nd and 10. They just do get it off on a play clock. Stafford incomplete. Trying to thread the needle over the linebacker and in front of the defensive back. He had an eye on Dennis Northcutt. It's 3rd and 10.
Let me expand on what I was saying earlier. As we watch the game progress, Chicago is very, very active with its linebackers in the front 7. And that's going to give him opportunities now with throws down the field, one-on-one. Again, this is down the field. Very flat ball. The nose of that ball needs to come down with a little bit more of an angle on a down-the-field throw. But they're giving him opportunities to make these type of plays down the field with their coverage and active front 7.
Blitz coming. They pick it up. And that means somebody's open, and that somebody is Calvin Johnson inside the 15.
Now, Tom, we saw this last week as well. This one is as flat as could be, and that's exactly the way you want it. You make an outside throw. Calvin Johnson on the outside here. This has got to be a laser shot. Anything to the outside has got to be there when it needs to be there, in the way it needs to be there, and that thing needs to be on a frozen rope versus the down-the-field vertical shots that need that air that we're talking about.
3 receptions for 69 yards for Calvin Johnson. It's first down inside the 15 for the Lions. Blitz coming again. And thrown behind Johnson in the end zone.
Well, clearly Detroit thinks this is the way to attack Chicago. They're getting enough one-on-one looks. Now, in that secondary look, Chicago changed it up. They put across a very loose zone, basically putting a lot of people from the 10 yards back. Has to be a very accurate throw. You got to be careful. Those are the kind that get turned over. So far, Matthew Stafford dialing them up correct.
10th play of the drive, 2nd down and 10. They fake the handoff. And again, slightly overthrown to another wide open receiver. As good as Stafford has been early on today, he has missed a couple of open receivers down the field.
Now this one, again, a laser shot thrown flat in the red zone can be dangerous, but this is a catchable ball. I think Brandon Pettigrew, and at some point he is going to be able to make those catches. He's got long arms, a big sweep spot for the quarterback. He's got good hands, but that's the kind of, in the red zone, that can kill a drive. We'll see what it does to the Lions now on a 3rd and 10.
They converted 3rd and 10 a moment ago. Bears drop back into coverage. Into the end zone, touchdown Detroit, the tight end Will Heller. Twice on 3rd and 10 on that drive. They convert for a first down on the first try, a touchdown on this one.
He said, you know, you dropped the first one, odds are you're going to catch the second one, this time with Will Heller. Basically the same route. Give the coordinator Scott Lanham credit for coming right back to it. Stafford saw the first one, came right back against that 4-cross zone defense to make the exact same throw. This time Will Heller held on to the ball.
Out of the hold of Nick Harris, this is Jason Hanson for the point after. And it's a 7-point Lions lead for a second time today. The rookie Stafford carving up the Chicago defense early on.
Division, and this is looking like a track meet right now. So we're going to need to change the color of this division maybe.
Johnny Knox from the 15, and he's out across the 40 and tackled at the 41-yard line by William James. So Cutler and company try and answer when we come back.
Viewer discretion advised. Thursday at 8/7 Central on Fox.
4:57 to play in the opening quarter, and fireworks aplenty on this autumn Sunday in Chicago. Cutler and the Bears trailing the Lions 14-7. You brought up the black and blue division, and well, what a change at the quarterback position inside this division in just 1 year. Forte met at the line of scrimmage by Larry Foote, a gain of 2. Of course, in Chicago, last year, and you had Kyle Orton as a quarterback. In Detroit, a revolving door. Now Matthew Stafford runs the show with the Lions. Jay Cutler. The only returning starter is Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay, and you know about the great Brett Favre, who will lock up with his former team tomorrow night. Second down, a short run again for Forte, bringing up third down.
Well, 3/4 of the division changed from the end of last season to the beginning of this season at the quarterback position. You can see here what it was last year and the changes that are brought about. Aaron Rodgers, the only consistency, first-round draft choice Matthew Stafford, a trade for Jay Cutler, free agent Brett Favre. This has become the quarterback division of the NFC.
Well, you're not lying. Third down, Cutler steps up. Incomplete.
And that's that subtlety of familiarity of Jay Cutler and Greg Olsen. This down and distance, third and medium, is a perfect place for your tight end presence, size, good hands. Looked like he thought he was going to lead him one way or the other. That familiarity can only be had one place. On the game field. You can't get it at practice, can't get it after practice. It's only achieved by playing together on Sundays.
Brad Maynard in his 13th season on the punt for the Bears. And Dennis Northcutt stands at his 10. Maynard does a great job of pinning teams deep, and he's done it again. He had 40 punts a season ago inside the opposition's 20-yard line. He might be the best in the game.
Well, and the conversion rate for touchdowns when you start a drive outside of the 20-yard line versus inside is dramatic. It's like a 20 or 30% decrease in the ability to drive the length of the field. So you can't overstate the importance of being able to pin a team deep inside their own territory.
Of course, we saw the Lions 3 straight possessions have to go 90 yards or better last week, and did so successfully. Smith cuts it back to the inside, picks up a couple of yards. Second down is next.
Well, and there's something to be said for what you just said, Tom. They spent the whole game. We did that game last week. They spent the whole first half down in this very territory, and for three straight drives came out and scored. So they're in familiar territory. This is no hill for a climber for them.
Well, the gain of 3 on 2nd and 7. That looked like a busted play.
Well, Matthew Stafford, this was just a quick stab play fake. It was supposed to be a slant. Chicago was all over it. That's a good non-play by the quarterback. Rather than force it in, I don't know that I wouldn't have just thrown the thing away rather than pull it back down, because you got no other options except to scramble around. But the fact that he didn't pull the trigger speaks well for this young quarterback.
Third down and 4. Maurice Morris checks into the backfield.
All pulled up in here. This is a great place for a vertical shot. Calvin Johnson one-on-one.
Blitz coming. And there was contact, and here comes the flag. That'll be pass interference against Zachary Bowman.
Where you put, I don't care who your DBs are, and obviously Chicago has faith in theirs, but there's not
pass interference, 35, defense. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
This is the activity we're talking about here. Look at the number of guys in the box. That tells the quarterback one-on-one on the outside. There's not a corner in the league that Matthew Stafford's not going to be comfortable throwing the ball up to the big Calvin Johnson against anybody in this league, and a big conversion.
Plenty of time on the play clock, down to 10. Fake to Smith, pass to Smith, and coming up to make the tackle is Lance Briggs. Last week, the NFL's Defensive Player of the Week, made 8 tackles, a sack, and had an interception. Now, we talked about with terrible field position, they went against the grain last week early on.
And this just sucks the heart out of a defense, these extended drives. Beyond physically wearing you out, mentally this is devastating when you've got a team pinned down and they're able to go the length of the field for any kind of score.
Smith. Back to the line of scrimmage and quickly back to Los Angeles to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
And the Cincinnati Bengals are scoring quickly. This against Cleveland. Carson Palmer, great catch by Chad Ochocinco. He tries to go into the dog pound, but the tackle Anthony Collins stops him. And the Bengals just recovered a fumble, took it 77 yards for the score. It's 13-0 pending the extra point, Tom.
There's Cedric Benson, the former first-round pick, second in the AFC, third in the NFL in rushing since Cincinnati picked him up midway through last year. Down goes Stafford all the way back at the 21-yard line, sacked by Alex Brown.
And as good a job as this was by the front four, and it was only a 4-man rush. This is a coverage sack. You can see right here, Alex Brown's going to come off the edge. It's just a 4-man rush. That's a coverage sack all the way. He ended up having to hold the ball. Corners of the tackles on the edges couldn't hold up. Great job on the rush by Alex Brown, but that was a coverage sack. Great job by the secondary of the Chicago Bears.
Adewale Ogunleye was applying the pressure as well. A poor punt by Nick Harris, and this is Hester at the 40. He crosses midfield. And the punter runs him out of bounds at the 35-yard line. Hester returned 4 punts for touchdowns in 2007. Has not returned one for a touchdown since.
Yeah, on Friday when we had a chance to talk to Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator for the Bears, I asked him about Hester being used in the return game because he's a big part of this offense because of the vertical threat. So to see, here's Ron Turner right here, the fine offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, but he was conflicted. He loved the idea of the field position that Devin Hester represents in terms of the return game, but he also knows they're a little vulnerable. If he gets hurt, he's lost a big component of this offense.
29 seconds to play in the opening quarter. Cutler steps up, throws, caught. And what a catch by Earl Bennett down to the 10.
This is the kind of throw Jay Cutler, it may be subtle to see the difference between his throw and the throw that we were talking about, Matthew Stafford, but what a beautiful shot, just bringing it over the top of the linebackers.
Well, that's the end of the opening quarter from Soldier Field in Chicago. Detroit a 14-7 lead. Fox NFL Sunday continues after the weather always a factor along the lakefront in Chicago. Temperatures in the mid-50s, still at 15-mile-per-hour wind. Slant to Knox, and he took a knock inside the 5, and the Bay Lions say the ball is loose.
Knox getting up just a bit gimpy.
Tagged. Second down.
Boy, he took a lick.
Yeah, let's look at the last play here, Tom. And we beat up Stafford a little bit. I'm sorry. Here's the fumble. He's clearly down. The ball finally gets ripped out. There's nothing to review there.
Play fake to Forte. Wide open. Touchdown. Kellen Davis. His second touchdown reception of the year.
This is as basic a play as is run in every high school, junior high, college, and pro team in the country. Corner flat route with the shallow dragger underneath. We'll hopefully get a look at it here after the kick.
$14 apiece. We'll take a look at that play when we return. We're tied at 14 at Soldier Field. "46 seconds into the second quarter. That didn't take long after the short punt and the good return by Devin Hester. Aaron Brown from the goal line. Wow. Hammered down at the 22-yard line.
Tom, let's go back to the throw by Jay Cutler, because we've been making the point about the trajectory of the ball. Now I want you to see something right here at the top. As the ball's coming in right here, that ball, the nose of that ball is coming down. That's just the trajectory that you want. We're going to see later on Matthew Stafford, where the nose of his ball tends to stay up. It's too flat a throw. Maybe subtle in the difference there, but it's the trajectory of that ball that Jay Cutler threw that made that a successful play.
Mighty good catch too, by
absolutely.
Little delay to Smith. He's been quiet early on. That's Lance Briggs on the tackle.
We're seeing a real guessing game going on here, a chess match between Lovie Smith and his defense and Matthew Stafford with the movement of the Bears defense. Watch what it does to Stafford. He's checking into some plays. He thought he was going to get a soft coverage, so he checked to a run, and they brought a guy down heavy into the box. So Lovie Smith is in a real chess match, not so much with Scott Lanahan as he is with Matthew Stafford right now.
And of course, Lovie has gotten a lot more involved in the defense now.
He is calling the defenses for the Chicago Bears.
Smith dropped for a loss, and again Lance Briggs, who's been to 4 consecutive Pro Bowls, and he's delivering early again today.
This is just a good job of the experience with Lance Briggs pulling the trigger. He sees the action of the back, and now he's got that experience. I'm going to beat the guard. I'm going to beat you to the collision point and not give you a chance to cut this back against the heart of my defense.
3rd and 15. Intercepted. Inside the 10, it's Tommy Harris. Mark Anderson applied the pressure and forced the Stafford turnover.
This is a quarterback's nightmare. It's got a simple screen pass. They're going to let the defensive line through the field. Actually, he falls down. The quarterback had no idea he was there, had no idea when he let the ball go of what had happened.
First career interception for Tommy Harris.
Boy, a quarterback's worst nightmare there, letting the ball go, having no clue that that defender was on the ground and got up and stepped right in front of the throw.
First and goal at the 8. They give it to Forte. And he's inside the 5 and lunges down to the 4. Second and goal for Chicago, trying to take the lead for the first time in the game today.
Brian Urlacher obviously out for this season, but he's still involved, talking to these guys, giving them the emotional response. I don't know how many of these Harris has had, but he's going to remember this one.
Second and goal for Cutler and the Bears.
Now you got Clark and Olsen shifted outside. That meant a fade pass earlier in the game.
This time it's Hester. He's denied the end zone. Outstanding open field play led by William James.
Yeah, clearly they popped the 2 tight ends outside where they had gone to Greg Olsen earlier, and now they're just going to run a little quick slant route, a breakout route, hoping that they overreact to those big bodies outside, get the ball in the hands of Hester very quickly. Great job by the secondary coming up, keeping relative position on Hester, forcing him back inside.
3rd and goal. You run it or throw it here?
Well, the configuration they are right now, it looks like they're going to throw it unless they run a quick little trap inside, hoping to catch the defense too far upfield.
They're going to throw it. Batted down as he tried to come across the middle. It looked like Larry Foote got a paw on that pass. So the Bears fail after the interception, and they'll send out the field goal unit. Boy, that's a big stand for the Lions defensively.
It is. The emotional swing of this game had totally gone to the Chicago Bears. Clearly they're feeling good about themselves, but this takes a little of the steam off with Detroit able to hold on and make this goal line stand.
A 20-yard field goal try for Robbie Gould, who's hit 4 of 5 to start this season. And now 5 of 6. Hold on a minute, hold on a minute. A late flag came in. Now, if this goes against Detroit, we saw this earlier go the other way. Could be a fresh set of downs for Stafford or for Cutler and company.
If it's just an alignment issue, it'll simply shorten the distance on 4th down, but let's see. I'm guessing right now. Yeah, the way they're talking, I think they're just, you take points off the board and it's still being 4th down.
Well, Cutler's coming back out.
Let's see what the call is. They haven't made the call yet. The question becomes, let's see what the penalty is, because it still should be.
Offside. Defense. Half the distance to the goal. Still 4th down.
Because the distance, they didn't have a chance of getting a 1st down. On the earlier call, the penalty gave them the 1st down.
All right, but they're going here on 4th down.
They are going for it, so this is different than before. They're going for it on 4th down because it's the length of the ball.
They're 2 of 4 on 4th down are the Bears this season. Cutler to the end zone. Touchdown, Greg Olsen.
That's a gutty call on the behalf of Lovie Smith. I talked earlier about Detroit getting a little steam off the emotion by the goal line stand. This is just a play action waggle, waiting for the tight end to come along the back of the end zone. Detroit selling out to run. Touchdown Bears recaptured that emotional steam I was talking about.
Point after good. 21-14 Chicago early on in the 2nd quarter. The Bears take advantage of the interception and convert into a touchdown. Devin Hester, meanwhile, headed back to the Chicago locker room. Chris Myers, I'm sure, will have an update shortly. Aaron Brown bobbles the ball inside the 5. Still on his feet and stopped at the 11. Tough field position again for Stafford and the Lions when we come back.
Ever HS Hybrid.
Lots of pink all over stadiums around the NFL. No different in Chicago as we recognize Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Many of the players, the coaches wearing pins, hats, towels that are pink, even shoes that are pink. Stafford, nice throw there. And are they saying a catch? Yes, it is, by Calvin Johnson. Out at the 33-yard line. Let's check in downstairs with Chris Myers.
Tom, moments ago you saw Devin Hester go to the locker room. He has a shoulder injury assumed on that hit when he caught the ball. He is questionable for the remainder of the game. And at running back, backup Adrian Peterson, he is out with a knee injury.
Bears hurry up before a challenge. And Was the flag thrown in time, or did Lovie Smith just call a timeout? Now, Lovie Smith has not been successful in challenging through the years. He has lost 30 of 46 challenges since taking over as head coach.
Chicago is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass.
Detroit did a nice job of getting up and trying to get the snap off. They knew it was going to be challengeable here. Let's see if... All right, that's going to be a tough one because a foot and a knee constitutes 2 feet. We'll see what they say.
And we'll give you plenty of looks at this play when we...
We're going to listen to the call here.
After a play, the ruling on the field stands of a completed catch. Chicago will be charged with their first team timeout.
Here's evidently what they saw and what people have to understand. Yes, you have to get 2 feet in, but a knee equals a foot, even on the same leg. So there's the foot. They're obviously determined the knee landed in bounds. Therefore, the foot and the knee equals 2 feet. The only question was the knee going to land in bounds or out?
So now that's 31 losses of 47 challenges made by the Bears head coach Lovie Smith. He did win a big one challenging last week in Seattle. So it's a gain of 21. With the Bears leading 21-14. Dropped behind the line of scrimmage is Smith by Mark Anderson. Anderson playing like a rookie again, when in 2006 he had 12 sacks. Already has one this season.
Well, he gets around the soft shoulder of Jeff Backus here. Looks like Backus maybe got off the snap count a little late. Anderson doing a good job of getting a jump on the count and shortening that edge in the run game.
A loss of 3 brings up 2nd down and 13. Great protection this time. Smith out of the backfield, lunges out to the 41. He'll be 2 yards shy of a first down with 3rd down upcoming. And of course, watching on the Chicago sideline today, the assistant head coach who runs the defensive line, the head man last year in a winless season as head coach of the Lions, Rod Marinelli.
Yeah, he is, and Lovie Smith will tell you, getting Rod to join his staff this year was huge. The defensive line credit the presence of Rod Marinelli for their improved play.
Just an excellent football coach.
A lot of pressure showing right now. What does Matthew Stafford want to do with it?
Here comes that pressure. Incomplete. He had an eye on Johnson.
Well, right now, the Bear defense in this chess match we talked about, Lovie Smith versus Matthew Stafford, the Bears have gotten the upper hand. Matthew Stafford has been in and out of some calls, runs into the face of the fronts, throws into zone coverage. So got a new returner back here now.
Earl Bennett replacing the injured Devin Hester. And you heard that report from Chris Myers a moment ago. Don't know if we'll see Hester the rest of the day.
The sun is tough at this angle in this stadium.
Not a Ryan within 20 yards of Bennett. He still hasn't been touched. And a Devin Hester-like return out to the 42-yard line. Minnesota and the Detroit Tigers tied atop the Central Division lead the final day of the year. And we're told Detroit is out to an early 3-0 lead in the 4th over Chicago. Garrett Wolfe picks up a yard, his first carry of the afternoon. The leaders offensively for the Chicago Bears. Forte, 61 of his 71 yards came on the big run in the opening quarter.
Yeah, other than that big run, the Bears have been running okay. Clearly they needed to get that established, but it's really the passing game that has given, and of course a turnover or a short field has given the opportunity to be up 21-14.
Becomes a very important defensive series for Detroit. Down 7 with 8:20 to play until halftime. Cutler to Knox. Still on his feet, shy of the first down. It'll bring up 3rd down and 2.
Well, just what you talked about, Tom. Right now, Jim Schwartz knows that his defense has to respond here. You talk about changing the culture in Detroit. They had it going for them early. It's real easy to be on top and confident when you're got things rolling. But right now they're going to be tested by the Bears in terms of where they are on the field. He's looking to see just how much his team has grown from that win last week against Washington.
Desmond Clark in motion. They throw it to Knox. He has a first down. One out of bounds at the 43-yard line.
This was just a quick smoke route or a one-step. A lot of people call it different things. A smoke route is either a called run where the quarterback can see this type of off coverage here. I'm just going to raise up and give me a one-step, get the ball out of my hand as quick as I can, and let's see if my guy can do something in the open field. So often that smoke route is part of a called run or a check where the quarterback just gets the ball out of his hand as quickly as he possibly can. Again, he's checking to something here. Probably just the direction of the run. Probably off to the left. Nope.
Looking to throw, and the ball is loose. It looked like it was stripped away by Cliff Averill, who's healthy again after missing the last 2 games. And that was Desmond Clark staying in the block who covered it up.
They're rush off the edge. Jay Cutler a little loose with his ball mechanics here. Back takes a stab at it. Great job by Averill with getting up. Didn't realize all of a sudden a defensive man's on the ground. Then he pops up in your face. Jay Cutler not ready for Averill once he got into his face. Needed to pull the ball back into the body, the frame of his body very quickly.
After the loss, it's 2nd down and 24 for Chicago. Cutler rolling in trouble again. And down he goes into the arms of the rookie Louis Delmas, blitzing from the free safety position.
Well, Detroit's playing their own version of the chess match now. Gunther Cunningham for the Detroit Lions dialing up some different looks for Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler pretty comfortable back there in the first part of this quarter. Gunther Cunningham for Detroit feeling like, you know what, I got to make life a little more uncomfortable for this guy. He's going to tear us apart. So now we're seeing a little more pressures, a few more blitzes by the Detroit defense.
They need to get all the way to the Lions' 43-yard line to convert. Screen to Garrett Wolf, and he is tackled at the 47-yard line, well shy of the first down.
Typically a draw or screen. You don't want the quarterback to force the ball down the field. I talked a minute ago about how was Detroit, this young Detroit team, going to respond to the emotional challenge. Jim Schwartz has to like what he saw by the response of his defense, not giving Chicago a chance to move it inside into scoring position.
Brad Maynard has already pinned the Lions inside the 10 once today. He'll try and do it again now. Wow, this guy's something else. The 2-yard line.
You know, a lot of people have gone to that rugby style of back kick that gives a reverse spin on the ball because it's easier to control than this type of punt. And obviously Brad Maynard, he has got it down pat. I don't know that there's anybody better in the league in that position punting that's going to nail it down inside the 10-yard line, this out at the 2-yard line. Again, Chicago right now complete. Offense, defense, special teams. Now the defense's charge, keep them backed up. They've been able to get a first down out of the shadow of their own goal line. You can't give it up here.
Pump fake. And Stafford looking for Johnson and overthrows him into double coverage. Stafford, we saw lots of emotion and lots of smiles, lots of winks last week, leading his team to the victory, ending the 19-game losing streak. How about today?
Well, that body language, both positive and negative, the team's going to feed off that. Obviously a positive standpoint in terms of things going well. How do you respond with your body language if things aren't going well?
Second down and Smith. Is that a fumble? No, they're saying the ball is down at the 5.
Now Calvin Johnson out of the lineup right now. He fell on that ball pretty hard, or going out for that pass. I don't know. You can see him here on the sideline. This is going to be huge for Detroit right now. Looks like he just lays out for the ball. Nope. And I wouldn't imagine what the ailment is. Could be the shoulder, obviously.
I think a player stepped on his hand.
Yeah.
Take a look at his hand, right? Left hand.
Yeah, whatever it is, not having him in the lineup right now certainly leaves Detroit a little short-handed. Gives to Chicago a lot more latitude to do what they want when you don't have that same threat on the outside.
Stafford going to spend a timeout. First timeout taken by the Lions in this opening half.
Here's the leaders for Detroit. Obviously the yardage, and you can see the completion percentage for Matthew Stafford. Really has not been able to get the running game cranked up probably the way they'd like.
Let's check in with Chris Myers.
Veteran trainer Dean Kleinschmidt over there talking to Calvin Johnson. First they checked to make sure to get the wind knocked out of him. The hand was okay. They just checked the range of motion on the left side of his body, the way he landed on his left arm. He said, I'm fine, and he should be back in.
He is back in. Chris, thank you very much. Great to have Mr. Myers with us this week.
Yeah,
first time all year.
He's all over the place, both sidelines. He's fast.
Third down and 7. What a throw and what a catch. Still not that loft you were talking about, but this one threaded right through the defender.
That's a big lead throw. That's why you get drafted number 1. Again, zone coverage. He's just looking to get it just above the corner. Risky throw if that corner gets any deeper. That's a perfectly thrown ball. I guess that's why they give you $41 million out of college to make throws like that.
So all the way out to the 34-yard line. It's first down for the Lions. 3.5 to go in the first half.
False start, 51. Offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
How's the center offside?
Well, he either double clutched the ball, gave it a little wiggle early, wait for the snap count. He may be fooling with the offensive line, bobbing his head a little bit. Sometimes you find them squeezing the ball with their hands if a defensive line's trying to get on a quick get-off. Official caught it and put him on a 1st and 15.
The tight end, Pettigrew, in motion. They pitch it to Smith. Got a good block. Try to cut it back up to the inside, and he's out to the 40-yard line.
Little pre-game warm-up ritual. You do all those kind of things you can to get the quarterback warmed up here. It's just a little game trying to hit that narrow goalpost. Probably have a slight wager or two between you and your quarterback coach, the other quarterbacks, as to who can hit it the most. Of course, it all goes to charity.
Stafford, great protection. Now flushed out of the pocket. He'll get a first down, crossing midfield, and slides out of bounds at the 43-yard line.
Again, nice job by the rookie quarterback here. He's looking downfield, nothing there, nothing there. Steps around, pressure, doesn't bail out too early. And now he's got to know, okay, I'm turning into a ball carrier. If someone's coming at me from behind, they're coming off my right side. I'm going to secure the ball in my left hand. Good head-up presence for a rookie quarterback. I like what you saw there. He scrambled for a good 3rd and long last week, remember, Tom. Obviously, he has the athleticism to do that a little bit.
We're down to the 2-minute warning. And the Lions on the move, trailing by a touchdown.
Today's Game on Fox is sponsored by... Now, Southwest...
Tight end Brandon Pettigrew, and the big fella's rumbling inside the 20 and all the way down to the 15-yard line. Their first-round pick out of Oklahoma State, and he's a load to bring down.
Nice. You don't typically screen to the tight end here. They're setting this up to the left. The tight end over here is going to slow play it. He came all the way from that backside. Brandon Pettigrew. You don't often go to the tight end, but that's why they can be good, because the defense really doesn't pay much attention to a tight end that starts out in protection and then leaks out into a screen.
The 28-yard completion to Pettigrew. They pitch it to Kevin Smith. Still on his feet and close to the 10-yard line. Jerome Felton, the fullback, leading the way.
Well, they've picked up from where they left off last week, Tom. When you look at the starting position that the Detroit Lions have had to overcome and what they've been able to do with it, this is very similar to what we saw last week, particularly in the first half against the Washington Redskins.
A 2nd down and 6 at the Chicago 10. Stafford missed the intended target, Will Heller, who had a touchdown early on today.
Well, some interesting call here now for Detroit. You've got a 3rd and about a 7 or 8. You've got 2 timeouts in your pocket, so time is not a factor here with 2 timeouts, a minute 7. You can run the ball here if you so decide that, okay, they're going to be passive, and you get yourself a first down or give you a chance to make a 4th down call if you want. Get your field goal team in. You got lots of latitude here with 2 timeouts in your pocket.
Stafford, what a throw that was to Pettigrew, and that is a first down inside the 5. That one shot out of a cannon from Stafford to Pettigrew.
Now this is interesting, even with the timeout, because it's odd here. Interesting call, because you want to score, but you'd really like not to have to kick the ball off or give them a chance for a Hail Mary. So oddly enough, you're going to take all the time you can to get in, hopefully get into the end zone.
They're spreading it out.
Could be a little trap run, though.
Yep. Smith slips his way to the goal line and into the end zone, a touchdown. So a drive which began at their own 2-yard line. The Lions march 98 yards, and they're an extra point away from tying this game at 21.
I know I keep coming back to it, Tom, but it's the thing that intrigues me most about this game. What an emotional response from a team that has got its first win in 2 years, coming off a big win at home, to, in this situation, all the momentum was going Chicago's way, and to respond the way that they did.
Point after by Jason Hanson is good.
And here you can make these kind of calls when you got 2 timeouts in your back pocket. Your first down. Slipped the ball out into Kevin Smith. Was a question as to whether he was going to actually play today.
Of course, coming up, it'll be the BISA halftime report. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy will have the scores and highlights from around the league. And the Fox Sports ticker has up to the second scores and statistics. We have seen these Lions now 2 straight weeks. They got the victory to end the 19-game losing streak last weekend over the Redskins. Perhaps this first half performance today on the road is even more impressive.
It is, by the fact, just as you said, the fact that it's on the road. It's a divisional opponent. You can tell right now they've sucked the air out of this stadium right now with regards to the Chicago fans, who were priding themselves on how loud they have made this a place to play. And so right now, Detroit, the whole emotional swing, unless they can do something with 26 seconds or less on the clock, has clearly gone to the Detroit Lions.
Danielle Manning waiting on the kick from Hanson. It's out of bounds, so they're going to get great field position. And remember now, the Bears have 2 timeouts, 26 seconds left.
Kick off, out of bounds. Ball will be placed 30 yards from the spot of the kick.
And Jim Schwartz now, he could go out and choke that kicker to death, and there's not a court in America would convict him. He is a mad puppy right now, because all of a sudden now, 26 seconds, you kick it down deep, 2 timeouts, doesn't matter. They take a knee, get into the clubhouse. Now Chicago, Jay Cutler, 2 timeouts in his pocket. It's all about getting in field goal position. He needs about 25, maybe 30 yards.
And remember now, the Bears are without their leading receiver, Devin Hester, shaken up early in the game. Cutler, a dangerous throw into coverage. Had an eye on Greg Olsen. Let's go downstairs again and check in with Chris Myers.
And Tom, any questions about Kevin Smith and his shoulder were answered in the pregame. They put him through some specific drills. He's actually playing with a light brace or harness to protect that injured shoulder. But once they determined he was pain-free, he's good to go. They're monitoring him each quarter to make sure he can hold up for the second half. But he certainly looked good on the touchdown run.
Sure did. Really not a lot of running room today so far for Smith. But he certainly has given them an option setting up the play action. Cutler, second down. Lays it off to Forte in the middle of the field. And he's
got a quick timeout here.
To the 48, and yep, with 12 seconds left, the Bears use timeout number 2. So the Bears have 1 left.
And with the timeout left in 12 seconds, you have just enough time. Jay Cutler doesn't have to force the ball down the field. He'll certainly take that shot if he needs it. You need about a minimum of 10 yards. You'd prefer 15 to get your field goal team on, and obviously with the timeout, and leave yourself in range.
Got to remember now, they don't have a long-legged kicker. I mean, Robbie Gould has been a very accurate kicker, but he has never hit a field goal in his career from 50 yards or longer. They did not even attempt a 50-yard field goal all of last season.
But as the last play in the half, you'll let them at least try here. There's no downside.
Cutler right through the hands of Johnny Knox.
Now this is a little bit different now with 8 seconds. The ability to even drop the ball off in front of you and get a timeout. The ball carrier would have to get down very quickly. This almost means for sure an outside throw, or I'm not sure, even with the timeout, you can get it called quick enough with 8 seconds.
I see that red line on your screen. That's where we figure to give the kicker a chance from 50, and they're nowhere close to that. Clock stops on a timeout by Chicago with 3 seconds left. You can't kick a field goal from this long, so it looks like they're just going to, what, Hail Mary time?
Yeah, and particularly in this stadium where the wind is very, very tricky. And that's part of the reason Robbie Gould's distances are muted a little bit. He's not in a dome. The wind swirls here all the time. Obviously, you don't have a time but a shot to the end zone. This is always an interesting one to call for the quarterback, because right now they just told him, yeah, we're going to do whatever Hail Mary combination we have, but the quarterback's thinking, you know what I'm going to do is add an interception to my numbers. I don't know if I really, so often you see a quarterback just happens to throw this thing deep and out of bounds. Let's see what Jay Cutler does.
Well, they have trips to the top of your screen, and now Detroit spends a timeout. Well, you don't get to roll them over to the second half, so they just want to make sure there's no major, and it would be a major defensive mistake for the Lions here in the final 3 seconds.
The other thing that you worry about, obviously, from a defensive standpoint, defensive pass interference. The half cannot end on a defensive penalty. So maybe you get a pass interference call, which is very rarely called when you got a grouped up Hail Mary type of throw, but you've got to avoid that as well. It'll be interesting to see what Jay Cutler does, because I've had quarterbacks that, yeah, they'll shake their head, yep, that's what I'm going to do, coach, and then they throw this thing 50 yards over the top of the pile, or it just happens to be out of bounds because he doesn't want that interception showing up on his stat sheet.
Knox, Olsen, and Bennett to the left. And Cutler going to throw to the end zone. Lots of bodies down there. And knocked down by Coe Simpson on the final play of the opening half. A very good first half to watch.
Absolutely, and Detroit right now has got to feel very good jogging off this field right now.
Fox NFL Sunday continues with the Visa Halftime Report after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.
The NFL on Fox roll. Cash. More people go with Visa.
(21-21). We're set to begin the third quarter. Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions, winners last weekend at home against Washington, on the road inside the NFC North. And deadlocked with the Bears as the second half is underway. And this is Johnny Knox with a kicker to beat. And Knox is long gone. (102-yard kickoff return for a touchdown for the rookie Johnny Knox.
Nice job setting this up, play side, and then the subtle cutback. And now it's just raw speed.
Ron Turner said on Friday, "I'm not going to say that Johnny Knox is faster than Devin, but he's every bit as fast as Devin."
And that's only because he didn't want to upset Devin Hester.
Point after is good, so that tie didn't last very long.
Well, and again, I keep coming back to the emotional ebb and flow. What did I say as they left the field? Detroit had to feel very good about itself. Running off the field, on the road, in Chicago, a divisional foe, and now you come back out, Chicago answers the bell that way, and now Jim Schwartz has got to know that the emotional challenge to his team, I just love the back and forth emotional challenge that these guys face with one another. Got Urlacher high-fiving on special teams play. I got nothing else to do. I'll be a cheerleader on the sideline. He's loving it. Coaches light up when you talked about Johnny Knox. You could tell there was a little something about him. This guy is a fifth-round draft choice. To get the level of productivity out of a rookie, out of Abilene Christian, a fifth-round draft choice, that's a gift from the football gods when you get that.
And of course, that was part of the trade. They used that fifth pick. It was part of the Jay Cutler deal. You may remember, Cutler traded and came along with a fifth-round pick. That fifth-round pick was that selection of Knox. And of course, Denver received a first and a third from this year's draft and a first-round pick in 2010. Adam Jennings is back to return the Robbie Gould kick. A short kick, and hits Jennings in the leg. Picks it up at the 20 and able to bring it out to the 21-yard line. Let's check in with Chris Myers.
Tom, I talked to Lovie Smith at halftime, and Devin Hester remained in the locker room and not dressed for the game, so he is out with that shoulder injury. Obviously, Johnny Knox covering on the kickoff return. For punt returns, it may be an adventure for Chicago. And also Adrian Peterson, again, backup running back to Matt Forte. He's out, top special teams player with a knee injury. Jim Schwartz making the point that his offense has to have better field position. We'll play the field position battle in the second half.
Chris Myers, thank you very much. So we'll see if Detroit can respond to that right hook. And this is Smith, a very quiet first half for him, although you got to give him credit and the Detroit Lions offensive line credit. They blocked beautifully for Matthew Stafford in the opening half, and the numbers from the first half. Bear in mind, in the rushing yards, 61 of the Bears' 78 yards came on the first carry of the game by Forte.
Well, Detroit has somewhat of the balance they're looking for. Chicago, you're right. You take away the one big run. They said they had to establish the running game. I don't know if they've done that beyond just the one big run.
Blitz coming. Stafford escapes trouble. And finally caught by Nick Roche. Roche getting a start with the injuries to Tino Isamoa and Hunter Hillenmeyer.
Yeah, and you can see here now, this is where that defense, it's all about, they get a corner or a nickel blitz here. Yeah, you're just trying to make something happen. I don't know what good's going to come out of this now. You cover up the ball, and they're all about turnovers, getting the ball out of the ball carrier's hand. Chicago as good as anybody in the league over the last 4 and 5 years.
See if this goes against Backus.
Start, 76.
Yep.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
This crowd's come alive, Tom. We talked about coming in that they felt like on their media guide they've got a cover that says 4th phase. They've been really pushing the fans to make this an impossible place to play. Been pretty quiet here in the first half, but they're feeling it right now.
This has not been what you would call a dominant home field. They've won a lot of games here because they've had better teams here than a lot of people that have come to town. But it's not been that overwhelming crowd. Play it safe and give it to Aaron Brown on 3rd and a ton. And he's dropped to the 12, and Detroit has to punt it away.
3rd and 24, you hand off a draw like that, you're clearly capitulating the down, saying, you know what, I don't want my quarterback to be in a position where he's trying to make too much happen down the field. A turnover in a short field for Chicago right now would have been devastating. So this is kind of the discretion is a better part of valor.
Punting from his own end zone is Nick Harris. Waiting on the punt is Earl Bennett from the 42. And he's still on his feet. And shoved out of bounds at the 37. The Lions have done a brutal job in coverage today. Brutal. Not only just the 102-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, but their punt coverage as well.
Well, 21 points on 153 yards tells you some other phase. I'm talking about Chicago now. Some other phase of the game's playing very, very well. Clearly the special teams for Chicago.
Some airlines charge your
Lion. Looks like a left knee to Adam Jennings. Certainly, we hope he's going to be all right. It did not look good in his 4th year out of Fresno State. Bears with a 7-point lead. They give it to Matt Forte. And again, that has been a stalled running game for Chicago. Outside of the 61-yard run, the first carry today by Forte.
Chicago or Detroit using placards to tell the defense what personnel group's in. Deuce is a 2 tight end. Seeing more and more teams doing that, particularly on the road, being able to communicate front and back end.
Cutler on a 2nd and 12 and hooks up with Desmond Clark, who's back after missing the last 2 games with a rib injury. Well, what a find Clark has been. Signed away from Miami in 2003. Since then, he's played in nearly 100 games with 222 catches for over 3,000 yards.
And he and Greg Olsen are that combination. Last year, the 2 of them combined for 90 catches. That's what I mean, that these 2 tight ends are really Jay Cutler's #1 guy.
It's a big 3rd down here for Chicago. They're right on that borderline of being within field goal range. Short drop, swing it to the outside, and an excellent open field tackle. Starting on the hit was Anthony Henry and had help from Larry Foote. So, we're going to send Gold out again. We remind you, Gold has never hit a field goal from beyond 50 yards in his career. He's only attempted 3 of them. And this one's going to be from 52 yards out.
And I don't know this stadium well enough to know if there's an advantage going one way to the other. He's kicking south to north in this stadium right now, whether that makes the difference or not.
Good snap, good hold, and it's coming back. It is good. So how about that for Mr. Gold? He just struck gold. We're not even 5 minutes into the second half. And 10 unanswered points for Chicago. Aaron Brown, 5 yards in the end zone, will take a knee. An important drive for Stafford and the Bears, trailing 31-21. How about this draw? This looked like you off the first tee.
Well, and kicking in this stadium, we said, is problematic at best. And here he's kicking from the south end going north, which he feels like his range is better the other way. And this thing, I mean, this is a 15, 20-yard variance there. I don't know where your aiming point is. You aim into the right tunnel in order for it to go down the middle. I'm not a kicker, but he obviously aimed right.
Second and 19, they give it to Smith. And he's out to the 15. Another 3rd and long coming up for the Lions. Let's send it back to Kurt Menefee for a game break in L.A.
After being down 10-0 to Tampa, Washington, Jason Campbell trying to lead the charge back, hooking up for a 17-yard score with Chris Cooley, but the extra point was blocked, and therefore it's a 10-9 Buccaneer lead in the third quarter. Tom and Brian talking about special teams making a difference.
6th season as head coach of the Bears is one. Well, you're not kidding. So the Redskins trying to get back to 500. They better win that one today. Third and 14, only a 4-man rush. And they lay it off to Felton. And you're starting to sense this one slipping away a bit from the Lions.
Yeah, because the defense now is being emboldened by the special teams play, the 10-point lead. You turn this line loose into what could become a throw game for Matthew Stafford. Make it tough on the Lions offensive line when you're going to turn guys like Agunglier and Israel Adonijah and Tommy Harris loose.
Well, Jerome Felton is slow to cross the field after making that catch.
No, you underline the idea of special teams. I'm looking at these numbers now for the Bears. They're under 160 yards total offense. They're 29% third down conversion. They got 31 points on the board with a 10-point lead. All 3 phases of the game. It's cliche, but cliches are cliches because they're normally true. That offense, defense, and special teams.
Earl Bennett. And a nice return again. Great field position for Chicago, starting nearly at midfield with a 10-point lead after the return.
On Fox.
Certainly field position did not seem to be much of a factor in the first half, but those numbers don't lie.
Yeah, the short field for Chicago is the difference right now.
And still just 0 running game for Chicago.
You can see here for Chicago, obviously with Matt Forte, you're talking about the 61-yard run to open the game being the difference maker in their running game. The Bears want to run the ball more, Tom, and this is exactly the circumstance where they need to do it. Up by 10 points at home. If they're going to reestablish the run, it's this type of scenario where you're going to have to see it.
After a 1-yard run, blitz coming, Bears pick it up. And a missed chance here for Cutler. Is a little bit high. He's thrown a number of balls a little bit high the last couple of weeks.
Well, and in this instance, just under a little bit of pressure. Now, he's got an incredible arm in order to get it down the field under pressure. He can throw one of those guys on his back foot, fall away jumper, and yet still have some RPMs on it, as that one did. A little too hot in that regard. Needed to take just a bit off of it.
The Lions need a third down stop in the worst sort of way. Wheeling right now. Trailing by 10. Blitz coming. Cutler avoids it. Chasing is Levy. And caught him from behind, so the Bears are going to be forced to punt. DeAndre Levy made the start last week in place of Ernie Sims and had an excellent game. He had 8 tackles, including a couple of big ones inside the 2-yard line, stopping the Redskins on 3rd and then 4th down.
Now, Chicago has struggled over the last 4 or 5 years on 3rd down conversions. And they thought, I mean, they've been 25th or worse each of the last 4 and 5 years. Getting Jay Cutler, who's outstanding on 3rd down. Last year, Denver was 3rd in the league. They were hoping that would be part of the combination, but so far it hasn't shown up, them converting only 25% so far.
Later trying to pin him inside the 10 for a 3rd time in the game. And don't think he got it done this time. They're still spotting it 17.
What does greatness taste like?
He's got it. He's got it with a 25 and a 26-yard line.
Grab a Miller Lite and you've got it.
Walter Payton becomes the all-time leading rusher.
You've got a rich golden color, real beer aroma, and a true Pilsner taste. There's light beer, and then there's triple hops brewed Miller Lite. Taste greatness.
Move over, RAV4. Pilot and Escape. The Hyundai Santa Fe is one of the best bets in the...
The Titans are going to 0-4 this year.
Some of the early losses and tough losses you can see and understand, and taking nothing away from Jacksonville. It is at Jacksonville, but the separation in that score, something's not right in Tennessee.
Buys this week for Arizona, Atlanta, Carolina, and Philadelphia. Of course, game 2 of our Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. Many will see the Cowboys in Denver. Others will see the Rams and the 49ers. It's coming up next. Smith cuts it back against the grain. Nearly beheaded by Harris and Jamar Williams.
This is an undersized defensive front 7 for the Chicago Bears. Again, when you're talking about guys like Tommy Harris and Adewale Ogunleye, Anthony Adams has got some bulk there in the middle, but Alex Brown, to run on the perimeter, I'm not sure you're not better off running downhill with these guys.
3rd down and 5.
Packers peppered up now.
And here they come after Stafford. Ball is loose. It looks like Chicago has it. The Bears do. Israel Adonijah looked like the player who stripped it away. And Adewale Ogunleye covered it up. That's a mouthful.
And down, you can see the linebackers, as I said, peppered up. This makes it very difficult on the offensive line because it changes your blocking combinations as to who goes where. Kind of a jailbreak on the inside here. Now the ball's just a free-for-all. Fall on it, man. Don't pick it up. Gives you great field position. Just fall on the ball. Again, Chicago under Lovie Smith been outstanding in terms of forcing turnovers. And that's a direct function of, as I said, you pepper the linebackers up. The interior offensive line has to make some calls. You can see the numbers here. Most in the NFL. That doesn't just happen. That's not just luck. You create those types of things. Lovie Smith, under his direction, has done a great job for Chicago.
Short field again for Cutler and the Bears. Catch made by Knox to the 15.
Detroit, you can see obviously the difference leading up to the first 2 games of the season. They had 6 turnovers, none last week against Washington. They win the game. Now again, turnovers here. If you're a struggling team on the road, just can't afford the turnovers.
Second and 5, Forte. Inside the 10, 1st and goal for Chicago.
You know, I talked earlier about how you'd love to have this be a series where you can reestablish that run. Obviously, all but a short field. You'll take a score any way you can get it. But the Chicago Bears, I got a feeling Ron Turner would love to shove this into the end zone via the run just to set the tone for his team going forward.
Two tight ends in the game. Forte inside the 5, down to the 4. Dropped there by Levy.
This Bear offensive line is one that is still developing. Of course, they brought in Orlando Pace, the venerable, probably future Hall of Famer, on the left side. Olin Kreutz anchors it on the inside, but they got a young Chris Williams on the right side, a first-round draft choice in 2008. Roberto Garza, from Texas A&M Kingsville. And then again, an undrafted free agent, or a UFA from Carolina in the offseason, Frank Amelia. This is an offensive line that's trying to build itself together, still developing as a group, but this comes back to their wanting to run the ball, particularly in this division. The weather's going to start to turn here a little bit. You got a great quarterback that can make a lot of plays, but they know they've got to be able to run the ball, and it's going to come down to that offensive line if they're going to establish that in the coming weeks and months.
Sims limps off the field for Detroit. Jordan Dizon replaces him. Forte denied the end zone. You know, we talked about the running game for Chicago coming into this game through the first 3 weeks, averaging 2.8 yards per carry, which is second to last in the NFL. Surprisingly, second to last to San Diego of all teams. But again, their rushing yards today are grossly misleading.
And Lovie Smith is a defensive-minded head coach. You know he's on that phone to Ron Turner, not that he has to, because Ron knows as well. We've got to be able to run the ball.
3rd and goal. Cutler fell down, and the ball is loose. That ball came loose as he went down to the ground. And Cutler covered it back up. So on comes the field goal unit.
You know, and this is just he stepped on. I'm betting that the center steps back. Just at this point, put it away. Don't try to do anything more than just that. You don't want to compound this mistake. This is a tough one for the Bears right now. You're in a position, you're going to kick a field goal, 2-score separation, but you're not feeling very good about yourself right now in terms of not being able to capitalize on the turnover.
Well, Gold on from 22 yards away. It is good. And the 10-point lead swells to 13. It's coming your way on Fox later this month. The American League.
Not the best venue for a baseball game indoors, but a lot of history there, and a great way to kind of, from a baseball standpoint, close out their run at the Metrodome.
And that would be the second year in a row that the Minnesota Twins have played a one-game playoff to decide the Central Division. They lost to Chicago last year. Aaron Brown a couple of yards deep in his own end zone. Out across the 20. Flags fly on the field as he's dropped to the 23. And if this is against Detroit, it's gone from bad to worse.
During their turn, holding, 89, return team, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Man.
This is the type of thing that as a coach, Jim Schwartz is trying to fight through. This is the culture change I'm talking about, that when things aren't going well, you don't fall into that self-pity mode of, well, we are the Lions and how good can we really be. When they won the game last week, as high as they were, the first thing Jim Schwartz told them was, guys, this is great, but we got to get to the point where we're not celebrating a single win during the regular season like it's a playoff win. So again, starting with terrible field position,
First down carry is Smith, and he's dropped by Jamar Williams. You may remember it was a contract dispute 3 years ago. It looked like Lance Briggs was on his way out of here. And they drafted Williams in the 4th round out of Arizona State thinking, well, he might be the guy that's just going to take over for Briggs. Well, that was 4 years ago. Briggs is going to Pro Bowls, and Williams today makes his 2nd career start. Fitzsimmons, a tight end, is shoved out of bounds at the 16. It'll bring up 3rd down and 5.
And it's all fallen on Briggs, Tom, as you're talking about, because now he is the guy in the middle with the injuries to Urlacher and Tianil Samoa, Hillemeyer. He's got a group with him, not only with the linebackers, but instead of Mike Brown back there in the secondary, 10-year veteran, he's got a rookie in Afalava who he's having to kind of help sort him out as well. So a lot falling on the shoulders of Lance Briggs.
He can handle it.
Absolutely.
Stafford underthrows. Bryant Johnson, and again it is 3 and out for the Lions.
Well, we said in the open, right, last week they were 10 of 18 on 3rd down. A big part of what they were able to do. Now, obviously, they're well under that percentage right now. They're either 4 for 12, and I don't know. Yeah, they're 4 for 12, including that last one, 33%. That percentage is going to be tough if you're a team that's trying to win via ball control.
Earl Bennett on an excellent punt by Nick Harris from the 38-yard line. And another good return. Close to midfield. Of course, a big one tomorrow night we're talking about inside the NFC North as Brett Favre will take on his former team, the Green Bay Packers. And in case you missed it, on Fox NFL Sunday.
Now Brett says it's not about revenge when he plays the Packers.
That's cold, isn't it?
Hey, if they're not making fun of you, they don't love you.
A catch or no? Incomplete. First time we've called the name Julian Peterson today.
Again, coming from Seattle via San Francisco, Julian Peterson. Huge impact player 2-3 years ago. Probably as good as there was in the league. Right now, whether it's the scheme he's in, the team he's with, not really playing at that level that you'd expect given the rep coming in.
Forte. And really the beat goes on, or lack thereof, for this Chicago running game.
And even though you know Detroit is going to build that proverbial box or that 7- and 8-man front because they know that the Bears want to run it here, at some point you got to be able to run against those 8-man fronts. And Chicago hasn't shown the ability to do that yet. Now in this down and distance, 3rd and long, this is where you got to find out if Jay Cutler is indeed willing to manage the game. Take the clear-cut throw, but don't force the ball on a 2-score game and put your defense on a shorter field.
They're coming after Cutler, and he just throws it up for Knox and throws it out of bounds. Under heavy pressure on the blitz from Louis Delmas. A 2nd-round pick out of Western Michigan. And Chicago has to punt it away.
Good call by Gunther Cunningham and the Detroit defense. Bring pressure, make it get out of his hands very, very quickly. That was an all-out pressure. It's what do you got to lose? Down by 13 points. Let's see if we can force a turnover.
This game is not over yet.
Not by a long shot here.
Maynard puts a foot on it. Northcutt going to come up and he lets it bounce, and then it goes out of bounds. But again, pinned inside the 20. And that's a final play of the 3rd quarter. Fox NFL Sunday continues after a word from your local Fox.
On a couple short fields and only come up with field goals. The key for Detroit right now is keep your game plan intact. You need one score. We just started the fourth quarter. You don't have to put the ball up arbitrarily right now. Whatever your game plan says, stay with it.
Well, they've just done nothing on first down here in the second half, putting them behind the 8 ball on second and third down. Let's check in with Chris Myers.
From the Lions bench, Tom, Ernie Sims, who came in with a shoulder that was ailing, is questionable with that injury. The linebacker, Co Simpson, starting safety with a hamstring, is questionable. And Calvin Johnson, who had a big first half, 5 catches, over 100 yards. Lovie Smith said at the half, that's one guy doing too much damage. We need to keep him out of the game the rest of the game.
And he, along with the rest of the Lions, have done nothing in the second half. Third down. Until now. That's a first down catch to the 32.
And let's build on what Chris just said.
Miller Lite, and you've got it.
Came in with an injured knee and injured shoulder. Sun shining brightly, peeking through intermittent clouds throughout the afternoon in Chicago. But they'll be praying for a day like this in about a month and a half.
Here again, they break out into a 3-wide receiver set. I'm not sure this isn't a place, again, to drop in a draw or a trap to see if you can do just a little damage to this run front.
Play action. Wide open down the middle. Nearly dropping that pass was Heller. But on a second.
From Justin Verlander. And right now it's time to have a ball with the Illinois Lottery Mega Millions. Millions can find you every Tuesday and Friday. Have fun, play responsibly. And the Tiger fans, 35,000 plus here on the Tigers, at least getting into a playoff. With the Minnesota Twins, they're just having a ball, and that is our Illinois Lottery moment. And we'll be back.
12.5 minutes to go.
Detroit getting a bit of a rhythm. Feels like the first half, doesn't it, Tom? I was about to say, you know what? Pull the game plan out. Just start over where you did, how you started the game. Sometimes you don't come back to those plays because you used them up early. They were successful. Go back to it. Just start the whole script over again.
Maurice Morris trying to cut it back to the inside, gains a yard. So third and a long 4 upcoming for the Lions. We've reached the 12-minute mark.
Here we find ourselves, and again, a third down. Now, this is a convertible third down. This is a 3rd and 4. This is just the kind of down and distance you want to be in as a quarterback. This is where Matthew Stafford kind of has to earn his chops on a very convertible third down.
I wonder if something's wrong with that communication device in his helmet. He's running to the sideline,
obviously.
Third and 5. Good throw, good catch, first down. You think that's what's going on here?
Oh, there's no question about it. And the rules say that if the communication system goes down, it doesn't have to go down on the other side. They're free to continue to use it. So clearly there's something wrong with the coach to quarterback communicator. You practice backup signals, but you very rarely have a problem. So at this point, it's just come over here, I'll tell you what to do.
I got to tell you, though, I mean, I would wonder about this guy having to run back and forth all the time like that from a stamina question.
Well, and it creates another level of anxiety. Here, linebackers up in the gaps again, showing pressure.
And here they come. Wow, Stafford missed a wide open Heller.
Just got a little anxious, knew the pressure was coming, wanted to get the ball out of his hand way too quickly. If he could have just waited out that half a count more, might have had a huge play. See, you're switching out. They're switching out. He's just putting on the helmet now of the backup, or either the backup quarterback, or they have another helmet on the sideline to get that coach to communicator working. And boy, it's frustrating when it's not working as a coach. You go ballistic.
play of this drive. Caught by Pettigrew. And the big fella's down to the 11-yard line.
Again, we saw it earlier.
09 year. Thanks for watching White Sox baseball over WGN TV. We look forward to seeing you in the spring. And White Sox baseball in high definition is sponsored by Comcast. So for my partner Steve Stone, who I really enjoyed the 09 season, Stevie, looking forward to 010, buddy.
I certainly think that next year is going to be a lot better than this year, but I had a great time with you and everybody associated with the White Sox. Thanks again.
And for our Hall of Fame director, Jimmy Angio, and for John Walgren, our producer, for the Mayor Mean Joe Groove, and for everybody connected with WGN, Bob Vorwall, the executive director of sports. This is the Hawk. So long, everybody. See you in spring training.
Chicago White Sox baseball has been brought to you by Miller Lite. There's light beer and there's
the year. At last check, Minnesota a 7-1 lead. If Minnesota wins, it's a one-game playoff on Tuesday. If Minnesota loses, the Tigers are American League Central Division champs. Johnson. A nice open field play made by Danielle Manning. It can't be easy when you're staring in the eyes of Calvin Johnson. He's slow to get up.
You know, normally a big-bodied receiver like Calvin Johnson is not one that you typically throw these little quick screens to on the outside. It's usually a more nifty guy. Maybe in the open field, he is a superior athlete, but those DBs come crashing early on those things when you try to execute them inside the 20-yard line.
8 catches, 133 yards for Johnson. It's 3rd down and 5. Stafford sacked all the way back at the 19. Ogunleye was able to get him.
You're looking on the right side, Gosder Churlis working in a combination. The guard comes out. They got their focus caught inside between the right guard and the tackle, giving a stunt on the outside with Ogunleye. Those long arms. All of a sudden you think you're away from him. He reaches those long arms out, and it's a sack.
5th sack of the game for Chicago. 35-yard field goal try by Hansen. Flag down on the play. The kick is good. Walt Coleman, our referee, will hear from him momentarily.
Chicago trying to plead the case that the center's moving the ball, inciting an offsides. They've been called for that once already by the center, has Detroit. So we'll see if they're going to win the debate.
Offside, 71 defense. That penalty's declined. Field goal is good.
So that makes it 34-24 as they take a look at Stafford, who limped off the field a moment ago.
It's Chevy Truck.
Sold out Soldier Field, 34-24, Bears in front. They're taking a look at Matthew Stafford on the sideline. Dante Culpepper, the number 2 quarterback, beginning to get loose, and we'll keep you posted on Stafford's situation. Another very short kick handled by Manning at the 10. And another huge return. Run out of bounds by the kicker. They're paying a lot of attention to Stafford's right leg over on that bench. Injured on this sack a moment ago.
Hi, my name is Kylie, and these happy words just keep on coming. Today,
Stafford still limping around over on that Lions sideline, knocking on the door of his first 300-yard passing day in the NFL. But he's turned it over twice, a fumble and an interception. Cutler, meanwhile, Has thrown for just 102 yards. Tack on 4 more on that catch by Clark. For more on what's happening back in L.A., let's send it back to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
We've got what's happening in baseball, and the last day of the regular season may not be enough, even though the Tigers got 2 home runs from Ryan Rayburn to beat the White Sox 5-3 right now in the 5th inning. Minnesota is on top 7-1, and of course, that might set up a 1-game playoff on Tuesday if it stands like that. Tom?
Kurt, thank you very much. And that 1-game playoff would be at the Metrodome. Almost right on the stick for a first down. Catch is made by Forte out of the backfield. And they may have to measure this.
Detroit's getting in some defensive look now, that almost daring Jay Cutler to throw the ball. Where again, we talked about Chicago would probably love to run the ball here to finish out the game, reestablish what they can in the running game. But they're loading up that defensive front in the box that almost is demanding that Jay Cutler take advantage of it to the outside.
Well, they called it a first down, and Julian Peterson was giving one of the officials an earful. Bears spend a timeout at the 7-minute mark. (34-24), 7 minutes to play at Soldier Field. And the Bears 1st and 10 at the Detroit 37. Jay Cutler to throw on first down and underthrows Greg Olsen. 2nd and 10 upcoming. We welcome those of you watching the Washington Redskins bounce back and get a victory over Tampa Bay 16-13. The Redskins losing to these Detroit Lions in the Motor City last Sunday. And the Lions, right from the get-go, were very much in this one. In fact, we were tied 21-all at halftime. Johnny Knox returned the second half kickoff, 102 yards to give Chicago a 7-point lead, a lead which now stands at 10. Matt Forte will add to that lead. He got big blocks from Olin Kreutz and from his tight end Desmond Clark.
2nd long, Detroit's in a shell or zone coverage, kind of thinking they're going to throw. Just a simple off tackle. Matt Forte with that gliding, slicing, subtle moves of his. Taking it into the end zone. This is exactly what Chicago needed to dial up at this point in the game.
Well, Forte has had a 61-yard run. He's had a 37-yard run. So that's 98 yards on 2 carries. He has a total of 23 yards the rest of the game. Point after is good by Robbie Gould. Largest lead of the game for Chicago.
Two feared pass rushers, Michael Strahan.
Aaron Brown from the 7 and has dropped it to 24. Now the Lions got a touchdown run from Smith just before halftime, tying the game at 21, but then Knox 102 yards on the opening kickoff of the second half. After a turnover, they got a career-long 52-yard field goal from Gould. Stafford injured his right knee on the sack. And Chicago's last possession after a big kick return, the touchdown run by Forte, and this is the first appearance in his 2009 season for the 11-year veteran Dante Culpepper. He started 5 games a season ago after they signed him off the retired list Let's check in downstairs with Chris Myers.
Todd Culpepper is in the game because of the knee injury on that last sack. Stafford appeared to twist his knee, and over on the bench, his right knee, they put a cloth sleeve on. The trainer did, gave him the thumbs up. Then he tried to walk and was in pain. They sat him back down. They're checking his knee, so Stafford is questionable for the remainder of this game with a knee injury.
Chris, thank you so much. 6:10 to play, and Culpepper throws behind Brian Johnson. Third down upcoming. Culpepper in his career is playing in his 98th game, 95 of the 97 games as a starter, and has thrown for over 23,000 career yards. As you look at the final numbers today for Stafford.
And not exactly the situation you want to come into against one of the most pressure-heavy defenses in the league, who have forced more turnovers than anybody in the league since 2004.
Culpepper to Felton out of the backfield. That's a first down reception out to the 44. We certainly at Culpepper, watching him practice last week, you know, they signed him. He wasn't playing for anybody last year when he got the start in 5 games with the Lions. He was heavy. He is in great physical shape this year.
Well, and he got himself into shape to have this kind of battle with Matthew Stafford, as unrealistic as that was or wasn't, in that you're talking about the first-round draft choice of the Detroit Lions and then giving him $41 million signing bonus. You kind of knew how that was going to end up. But you give him credit for battling in there, and now he's got to step in and do his job as the backup.
Well, we have an injured Chicago Bear on the field. It's Zachary Bowman. Bowman, of course, took over in week 2 as the starter for Nathan Vassar. Coming up next, our Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader continues. It looks like Bowman's okay. That's good news. Cowboys and the Broncos. Coach, how you see that one shaping up coming up next here on Fox?
Well, we're gonna find out if the Broncos are for real. All but at home. The great Mike Nolan doing a great job with that defense, but Tony Romo, running game of the Dallas Cowboys, are going to test in a way that maybe they haven't been tested so far.
In the other game, San Francisco very easily could be 3-0 on this season were it not for that final miracle by Brett Favre and the Vikings last weekend.
San Francisco's for real. That was a tough environment to go up to in Minnesota. A lot of teams could have found themselves in the same situation.
Five and a half minutes to go, and Culpepper rolls. That'll be a flag. Will it? No, apparently not. Looked like a borderline hit there by Tillman on Pettigrew, but apparently no harm done. Second down.
Well, we're going to see. This is whether it's late or it's the defenseless receiver. No, it was late enough. It was shoulder to shoulder. The new rule saying that head-to-head contact, whether with the helmet, the shoulder, or the elbow, is illegal. That was shoulder-to-shoulder contact.
I just thought that he was, basically had a foot out of bounds when he took that hit, and they might flag Tillman. Tillman's been a good player for a long time.
He has, and hasn't gotten because of the different players that have been there. Mike Brown, we alluded to earlier, and the turnovers that he instituted. But obviously, to pressure as much as Chicago does, you have to have confidence in your corners, and they obviously do with Charles Tillman.
He forced a fumble last week. He's forced 17 fumbles in his career to go with 21 interceptions. Thrown behind Pettigrew.
Hardest thing in the world for a backup quarterback to do is to come in the game, 3/4 of the game already played, and to come in under a tough circumstance, down by 17, and that rhythm, that subtle rhythm of the speed of the game, where the receivers are breaking, where I need to put the ball. Very difficult. I mean, that's your job. Got to step up and do it, but very difficult situation, even for a veteran like Dante Culpepper to step into.
4th down and 6. Incomplete, and the Bears will get the football. With 5:12 to go, Chicago a 41-24 lead. Fox's football coverage doesn't end, of course, when the games are over. After our second game, stick around for the OT. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy will bring you interviews, extended highlights, and a look ahead at next week's action. America's #1 post-game show, the OT, presented by Lowe's, coming up after our late games only on Fox. Garrett Wolf for a yard.
Now this is absolutely the situation where you've got a definite 8-man front. But I know Lovie Smith is telling Ron Turner right now, I want to run this ball. I want the clock to come down. I want to see if we can push and shove against an 8-man front with our running game, because we're going to need that in the games coming up. So this is as big a test for Chicago, or close to it, as being behind in a game. How are you going to manage a game when you're ahead?
See the 41 points. For those just joining us, you would figure a huge day for Jay Cutler. That has not been the case. He's not turned the ball over, as that catch is made by Rashid Davis. Close to a first down. It is a first down to the 37. Cutler has not even thrown for 115 yards, but 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Forte, the 2 huge runs, again 98 of those coming on 2 runs, 61 and 37. Lovie Smith's team, it appears, will go into their bye week next weekend with a 3-1 record, and it should be noted that the last 2 times the Bears have started a season at 3-1, in 01 and 06. They reached the playoffs both years. Wolf goes the other way, a flag down on the play, and then there's another flag. So you figure the second flag is on the defense. We'll see about the first one.
Yeah, where the flag was thrown from, the first one. I'm going to be interested to see where they're coming with this one. Second one likely a horse collar and a player down on the field. That's exactly why this rule was implemented, to prevent these types of injuries, although it's a
we have fouls
Detroit
on both plays. We have a personal foul, crackback, 81, offense. We have a personal foul, horse collar, 32 on the defense. Those penalties offset. Replay, first down.
So Rashid Davis for the crackback, Anthony Henry for the horse collar.
And both of these you can see coming in from the exterior of the formation. Well, I don't know. He got his head in front of that one. I don't know that that constitutes a crackback. But the horse collar, there again, didn't get the hand in behind the pads. There are 2 calls for horse collar that have been made in this game that I think Mike Pereira, the head of the officials, is going to have to look at real hard. That was just a matter of getting hold of the pads. The horse collar is very clearly has to be the hand down inside the back of the shoulder pads of the ball carrier. I don't think the 2 that were made today were legitimate horse collar calls.
.334 to play. Cutler rolling, throwing, and the catch is made by Kellen Davis, who has a touchdown reception today. That's a first down to the 19-yard line. Clock winding to 3:20.
Chicago's probably got as deep and talented tight end core as there is in the league. Greg Olsen, obviously a first-round draft choice. He and Desmond Clark, as we talked about earlier, combined for over 90 catches last year. And Kellen Davis, and primarily seeing him in the preseason, but this is a big 6'7", 262-pound. He's an impressive athlete. These 3 tight ends give Chicago probably the best tight end base in the league.
And they brought in that Michael Gaines, and nothing wrong with him, as you mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
Let's go downstairs and check in once again with Chris Myers.
Tom, maybe one of the reasons not a lot of passing yards for Cutler today, the receiver injuries. Johnny Knox, the latest, the rookie to go out with a leg injury, unable to finish this game for the Bears in the second quarter. Devin Hester went out with a shoulder injury and did not return. And just for the backup running back position and special team star, remember Adrian Peterson suffered a knee injury on the opening kickoff and has been out the entire game.
Great point, Chris. And, much was made about this receiving core of Jay Cutler's. And, is Devin Hester a #1 guy? And really outside of Hester and Davis, the Bears did not have a receiver who caught an NFL pass in 2008.
Well, as we've said earlier, the tight ends are their primary #1. But Devin Hester is a huge part of that. That vertical component that he presents allows you to have tight ends as basically your #1 receivers. You remove that component, and a Johnny Knox as well changes the equation.
Garrett Wolfe sniffing the end zone, and he's inside the 5, down to the 2.
And this is the way that Chicago wants to finish against hard 7- and 8-man fronts. To be able to run the ball in those situations is exactly what Chicago yet still has to prove. Their numbers will be okay today, but still something they've got to prove, and I'm sure that will be a focus of theirs in the bye week they have coming up.
Well, they're going to run this baby down to the 2-minute warning. Chicago trying to add to a 41-24 lead on their way to 3-1 on the season. Chicago, and the Bears leading 41-24, and knocking on the door. Wolfe into the end zone, touchdown, Garrett Wolfe. That is the first career rushing touchdown for Garrett Wolfe. How about that?
Great cutback in the hole. Just a subtle dip of the shoulder, then the acceleration. Nice run by the little man. And again, just the way Chicago wants to finish up, running the ball into the end zone.
What a spectacular collegiate career Wolfe had. Many wondered, was he big enough? Could you find a spot for him in the NFL? Played at Northern Illinois and rushed for nearly 5,200 yards.
Wow. I don't care what division, what league you're in. That's pretty good.
Coming up next, our Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. Many will see the Cowboys and the Broncos. Others will see the Rams and the 49ers. Well, I mentioned the Bears a bye week next week. And then we take a look what Chicago has coming up thereafter. A couple of big road games going to Atlanta, Cincinnati, come back home for Cleveland and Arizona, then on the road at San Francisco. There's some tough games in there.
Yeah, there are, but there's some room in there, obviously, to try to gain some ground. The NFC North going to be very competitive. We'll see how Minnesota fares this week. Obviously, these Bears, along with the Green Bay Packers, of course, Monday night matchup with Brett Favre and the Minnesota Vikings. I still have a tough time saying that after all those years in Minnesota. But that's going to have an impact on where we are with the NFC North as well.
Out to the 35, and a flag comes in.
Holding, 23, return team, 10-yard penalty, first down.
It's Kevin Hobbs. All right, what's coming up for Detroit? Pittsburgh at home. Steelers have a big one later tonight against San Diego. Then go to Green Bay, St. Louis at home. Seattle really struggling, getting hammered today in Indianapolis, and then at Minnesota.
Yeah, not an easy lineup. Seattle, in Seattle, always tough, regardless of how well they're playing.
Felton, the fullback, out to the 35. For those of you in the home markets of our late games, In a moment, you will be leaving this game, and we will be switching you to the start of your game. So we're talking about those in San Francisco, those in St. Louis, those in Denver, and, of course, Dallas. We'll get you to the start of those games. Under a minute to go. First down close to midfield. Our game today is produced by Bob Stenner, directed by Rich Dewey. Our associate director is Charles McDonald. The broadcast associate, Bill Cullen. Our technical producer is Mr. Bob Muller. The throw is caught down to the 35 by Will Heller. The executive producers at Fox Sports are Ed Gorn and David Hill. Thank our entire crew, including Tyson Walklish, Mike Eldridge, and up in the booth, Scott Snyder and Tom Barbary. Final 8 seconds. Culpepper looking to the end zone. And it's knocked down incomplete, and that is that. So after hanging in there for a half, we were tied at 21. But on the opening kickoff of the second half, Johnny Knox, a kickoff return, and all Chicago after that. All right, let's send it back to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles for Brian Billick, Tom Brenneman. See you next weekend from Carolina.
Welcome to the AT&T Game Break.
Only from the standpoint of what the punting was doing, nailing them back on the 2-yard line, the 5-yard line.
Right there, I mean.
We're talking about it for a second. Didn't even point the thing out. You guys are like, take a look at that. We will show you that a little bit later on in the show. You will not believe Johnny Knox letting go of the rock before he hit the goal line.
I almost spilled my beer Kool-Aid.
He spit out his Kool-Aid.
Still tastes like victory.
Oh, it tastes like victory, my friend.
It almost didn't on that one. Hey, we want to hear from you as always. Send us your comments, and some of them will appear at the bottom of our sports ticker. Keep them clean, keep them short. Go to csnchicago.com. Click on the Bears PGL icon. If you are out and about, you can reach us by your mobile device at BearsPGL at ComcastSportsNet.com. As always, let's get this thing going with our opening kickoff. And we begin with our lead blocker, Dan Jiggins.
Well, you know, my first thing I'd have to say to the Bears after this game is remember to play both halves with the same kind of intensity. I think that they got a little bit of a wake-up call in that first half, defensively especially. Second half, they came back out and they did exactly what you would have expected them to do. That is start putting the wood to Detroit.
Well, Detroit, they're still trying to clean up from the parade of last week. Put away the party favors. Those are all done because I thought the Bears had a pretty convincing victory. Same thing with Jiggs. The second half, I thought the defense played exceptionally well. A little shaky the first half with those penalties, especially on the opening drive by Detroit. 2 very questionable penalties, especially one on Alex Brown. So I thought overall a very convincing win. Go into the bye week feeling good about yourselves, get healthy, and come back versus Atlanta.
That's the most important thing is going to the bye feeling good about yourself. You know what I mean? There are some injuries. They have to get healthy. But at the same time, 24 points. The defense gave up 24 points to the Detroit Lions. Unacceptable. We cannot have that anymore.
Well, you know, you go back to some of the things we've been talking about, third down conversions. I want to say Detroit was at over 40% on third down conversions.
50% actually.
And you look at the penalty situation. Yeah, 50% in the first half. You look at the penalty situation on some long drives. They were allowed to go on some long drives of, 90-some yards. Those are the kind of things defensively you want to sit down and look at and say, how do we eliminate these?
I think that was the concern in the first half. Think of the third and longs Detroit got. And I know Kelvin Johnson is a beast, and he's a great player, but the Bears' blitzes weren't hitting home. Obviously, Scott Linehan had a pretty good game plan. Lovie Smith went in at the halftime, made the adjustments, and they come rip out and roaring and make those Lions start to purr.
It was important for Cutler and the offense to keep this game close with Detroit scoring on those first 2 possessions until, like you said, Lovie and the defense made some changes and got things back on track. Let's go to Soldier Field. Let's listen in to the head coach of the Chicago Bears, Lovie Smith, after the 48-24 victory over the Lions.
To get you 3-1 takes a lot. After starting off with the loss, guys did a super job. We know how to finish the games. We need to start stronger, faster, and all of that. But proud of how the guys finished the game. Injury-wise, I was going to get to that right away. Devin Hester has a shoulder injury right now. It's about all we know. Adrian Peterson went out with a knee injury, and Johnny Knox has a shin injury. Don't know the extent of them. We'll continue to evaluate them and be able to give you more information a little bit later on. Offense, whenever you can, team-wise, whenever you can put 48 points on the board, you have to be pleased with that. We are. Good to see our running game. We talk a lot about the running game, getting it started. Matt Forte, I think he averaged over 10 yards a carry. Just outstanding job getting the run going. That, of course, can open up the pass, which it did. Jay, has played outstanding ball, just about every game we played. Turnover ratio, I think we were +2 in that category. That normally says who's going to win the football game too. But offense just productive throughout. Defensively, did not start the way we wanted to. You have to give them a lot of credit. Detroit did a good job, especially Stafford and throwing it to Johnson. Weren't able to stop that the first half. Second half, the guys did a lot better job, made a couple adjustments, did a lot better job with it. The takeaways were big. And again, we finished strong. Special teams-wise, we won a lot of games based on what our special teams have done. And today, that was definitely the case. I think they were ranked 3rd in the league special teams-wise. And our guys took the challenge. Coverage units, of course, we got a punt return game going with Hester, and then with Earl coming in doing that. Of course, Johnny Knox, big return. Danielle Manning return. Robbie Gold hitting that field goal was big at the time. And Brad Maynard does what he normally, does for us. Pin the guy back down and make him go the long distance. So big win for us. We'll heal up and then get ready to go from there.
Lovie, you mentioned the adjustments you made on Stafford from the first half to the second half. What specifically?
Hey, without going in specifics, we matched up a little bit more, put Charles to his side a little bit more. Besides that, the guys, played our defense a little better. We had them in situations that favored us, and again, but I'm going to give them a lot of credit. The quarterback's a good player, and Johnson is one of the best receivers in the game.
Coach, you seem to have a game every year where special teams just does it single-handedly. I mean, is this the kind of thing that can, once it gets going, it sort of snowballs over the course of the game?
Hopefully that'll be the case. We have excellent returners, whether it's Johnny, Devin, Danielle, and our special teams unit take a lot of pride in what they do. We, with some of our injuries to our linebackers, we've had to bring in different guys, but guys like Daryl McClover, Tim Shaw have really kind of stepped up.
Can you talk about your defensive front four and how they played?
Yeah, I should have mentioned them. I think we had 5 sacks, but the pressure was good throughout. That's how they played all year, though. We expect that from them. They took the challenge. I think Adewale had a couple of sacks, but there was good pressure throughout. Really pleased with the entire rotation. We normally, I think we had 8 linemen up today. They all contributed to that.
Well, could you talk about the decision to Robbie to take the field goal and there's a penalty decision to take the field goal before to go through the
Well, in those situations, at the time both teams were scoring a little bit, just didn't feel like field goals would get it. If you're at home and you can't get a yard, you have problems anyway. So those situations we'll normally go for it.
You okay with Cutler sacrificing his body on that touchdown run?
That's what you expect from your leader. Leader has a sacrifice from time to time. It doesn't surprise me at all. Jay's a tough guy. He has a defensive type mentality at times, and we needed that play.
When you see Tom helicoptering around, you're holding your breath a little bit?
Again, he's a big, tough guy. He's gotten up every time. In my brief time with him, he's gotten up every time, so I expect him to get up every time.
But I'm sure he was holding his breath there as Jay Cutler spun around for that 5-yard helicopter touchdown back in the first quarter to tie things up at 7. Well, the running game it got going. At least it appears that way. First attempt for Matt Forte, 61 yards. Couldn't quite break away and take it to the house. Next 10 running attempts, 23 yards, an average of 2.3. Last attempt, 37 yards and a tutty. So bookend-wise, it all adds up to, 121 yards and a touch. But did the running game get going? How do you analyze what happened with Forte today, Jake?
Yeah, a little bit more, and we were talking about it again during the game. When you start to see, sometimes you'll see them cut to the backside of a play that is away from the call side, allowing the flow of the defense to, in the over pursuit of the defense, then slip on the backside of a play, and that's where he was gaining some yardage at certain times. And I think the other thing is just getting comfortable. And as you know, Matt Forte is one of those backs that's best when he lets things develop. Wait, have a little patience, and that hole will open up, and then he can take off. The other thing is, on some plays, that offensive line was moving off the line of scrimmage. That's the big thing. Get off the line of scrimmage and give him a little bit of room to make a decision.
Well, I think also the indicator that maybe Matt Forte isn't 100% healthy. Think about that 61-yard run in the first quarter, the opening drive for the Chicago Bears. Lead play, like Jig said, fullbacks on the linebacker. Forte has the vision to cut it backside because the defense over-pursued, but wasn't able to kick it in that second gear to get it in the end zone. He was untouched when you think about it, and he got hawked from the backside.
Yeah,
so
maybe
the piano was playing Rachmaninoff by the time he got to about the 10-yard line.
James, I got a question for you. Do you like it when the guards pull run plays?
I like it when the guards pull and get depth. When a guard pulls and gets blown up in the backfield, that's not a good thing.
And it seems like that was happening a lot.
Because they're running so flat when they pull, and that's one of the problems that the offensive line has been having.
We'll get more into Forte in the running game. Hey, don't forget, Jay Cutler carried the rock 3 times for 8 yards, including 3rd and 5, right? Rolling out and getting to the pylon and spinning around and making.
And what were you thinking then? Where's Caleb Haney?
Caleb Haney, please pick up the white courtesy phone.
Who says we're not tough?
Cutler, 18 to 28, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns passing, 1 on the ground. Let's go to Soldier Field and listen to the starting quarterback of your Chicago Bears.
Defense did a great job all day. We offensively, we didn't really get into a rhythm. Ron will probably talk about it a little bit. It was tough. I mean, to score 48 points and have that few yards, your defense and special teams got to do a great job, which they did today.
Do you almost feel like we're back in the AFC West the way this offense?
No. We short fields. A lot of short fields from the offense or from the defense. They kept pinning them down there. Got a few turnovers. We got to capitalize better in the red zone. There's a few times there we could have put it away in the third quarter and we didn't. So we got to go back and look at that and figure out what we're doing wrong. I was not. I was just trying to get it in. If I could have just dove in nice and quietly, I would have.
Were you woozy after that?
Nah, I was good.
Did you get any talking to from the coaches on the sideline when you got that?
No, I think as long as you get 7, they're not, and you walk away from it, they're not going to complain much.
When Ronnie kicked the field goal that you guys had, there was a penalty. Did you have to do any campaigning to go for it?
No, Lovey was right there. He said we're going for it, and got a great call in. We felt really good about 3 or 4 different goal line passes we had, and we'd already used one, so we dialed up the second one, and Greg did a great job getting across for me.
Can you talk about the added importance getting the win going into the
It's huge. It's huge. There's nothing worse than going into a bye week off a nail. You got to wait that extra time to play again, and it just sits there in the back of your mind, wishing you had that one. We needed to finish this first quarter of games off well after the rough start we had to win 3 straight, win a division game at home, and go into our bye. It's huge for us. We just need to heal up. Go back and look at some past games and see what we've been doing really good and struggling at it and work on it.
Hey, go back to that touchdown after the penalty. How much of a difference does it make 4th and 1 instead of 4th and 2 in setting up the play action?
It's big. 4th and 2 down there, it's going to be tough. And, they're going to stack the box. They're going to close down all the gaps, and it's hard to get that extra yard. But you go to 4th and 1, you go to 4th and inches. Defense, they've got to put everyone in there, and you got a lot of one-on-ones on the outside. And that hard play action, it's tough on those guys.
It was the first time you just rally in the fourth quarter that night.
It's comfortable. Yeah, we felt good about it. 21-21 at halftime. We knew the defense was going to step up and they were going to get some stops, and they played lights out. The third quarter, they were unbelievable. It felt like we'd come to the bench and had to go right back out there. So they did a great job of getting the ball back to us. We didn't really capitalize, but got some field goals out of it, which helped.
Did the passing game change much after Hester?
No. We just never got a long field, really. We were kind of condensed in the red zone, which is great for us. That we just got to capitalize. So when Devin did go down, we felt good about having Earl go to Z or Rashid out there and putting Johnny backside.
How important was it to get the running game going, but also going into 5
We felt good about the running game since day one. You guys are the one that's kind of made a big deal out of it. We knew sooner or later it was going to pop, and we got 2 big runs out of Matt today. I think offensively, we've seen some defenses that are kind of designed to stop the run. We've had to take advantage of some things outside, so it's a long season. Matt's gonna have a lot of yards for us. He's gonna have a lot of production, much like today.
Yeah. How do you feel about the offense after 4 games as a whole?
We're getting there. We're not exactly where we want to be, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. We got a lot of guys making plays. The cohesion and everyone coming together is still in that process. Got some young guys out there mixed with some new guys like myself, so it's but we're coming there. We're getting there. We don't have to. We're playing good ball now. Hopefully by November and December we're playing our best ball.
In terms of the Lions coming off their first victory last week, what were you expecting from them?
Every game is tough in this league. So whether they lost last week or won last week, it wasn't going to change our mindset. We know that each week's going to be a battle. It's going to take 4 quarters of good football to go out and play. So we knew that they were going to come in here and have some confidence after it, after the win and division game. So they came out on fire. They came out playing really well. We got some good breaks early on and kept it close and kind of rode their wave a little bit.
Are you and Dallas old buddies?
Who?
You and Dallas.
Yeah, I'm going to call him after the game.
What are you going to call him?
No, nothing. I don't know. I've never met the guy. This is my first encounter, so we'll see him in a few weeks.
All right, let's go to our quarterback, Jim Miller, to break down Jay Cutler. We call it 15 on 6. You can see that on csnchicago.com each and every week.
Well, when you look at Jay, I thought, huge. The scramble for the touchdown where he lets it all hang out and just dives in the end zone. I think it was important to break Detroit Lions' spirit early. And I think Jay, knowing that that's a key play, it's a key drive, you got to keep pace with Detroit because they did come out playing strong. They played inspired football early. And by that play alone, I think Jay Cutler got the offense into the flow of the game. And you could see the excitement from the guys on the offensive side of the ball. That's a player, a franchise quarterback, who's going to give it up for his football team.
Let's take a look at the Bears drive by drive. And Jiggs, it was important because the way things got going for Detroit, this thing could have got ugly early on, but at least Jay kept, like Jim was saying, kept the offense going until the defense figured things out.
Yeah, and one of the things that you look at, again, you rely on the offense to pick things up when the defense is struggling a bit, and that's exactly what they did today. One of the other reasons why the defense was struggling is because of, untimely penalties in situations that gave Detroit first downs in critical spots on the field. So the offense had to pick up that entire load then as well. So this is one where maybe the defense turned around to the offense and said, hey, good looking out in that first half.
Key part of this game, too, it was tied 14-all after the Tommy Harris pick, the first of his career. Bears got a break on a field goal attempt. Detroit had a penalty. They gave them half the distance to the goal line, so that made it 4th and 1 at the 1. Running game wasn't going well. They go to their bread and butter down at the goal line, Zoom.
This guy right here is a playmaker. They have something special. Cutler and Olsen have something special, especially down there in the red zone. In the first half, I think they were 100% in the red zone, which is really good, and that's what you want to see. But why not get the ball into your playmaker's hands? And that's Olsen.
Well, the other guy, when you think about touchdowns this season, has got to be Kellen Davis, right? Sparty. Sparty comes in and catches another touchdown pass.
Touchdown maker.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, we're just getting started here on US Cellular Bears post-game live. We're going to hear from Lance Briggs coming up. We'll hear from Matt Forte after he goes for 121. We also want to hear from you. both on csnchicago.com and our poll question today. Here it is. Bears rush for a $151, 3 touchdowns. That said, how do you feel about this running game? A, great, the numbers speak for themselves. B, a bit concerned. They struggled for much of the game. Or C, worried. It was the Lions and AP is hurt. Log on to csnchicago.com, vote away, plus send us your thoughts on the game. We'll have the results coming up at the end of the show.
Give your home a fresh look with aluminum soffit and fascia from Menards. It's low maintenance and available in 14 colors. Right now, save 10% on all Sullivan soffit and fascia products. Update your roof with Castlebrook laminated architectural shingles. They provide a dimensional appearance and feature a Class A fire rating. With up to an 80-mile-per-hour wind warranty, 25-year shingles are just $17.79 per bundle after rebate. Dedicated to service and quality. Menards.
Save big money at Menards. Are your feet so rough that you need a sander? Jagged enough to pop a balloon? Or tear through pantyhose? Now there's the amazing Heeltastic, the miracle solution to dry, cracked feet.
Within 24 to 48 hours, I could see an improvement in my skin, and what a difference it makes immediately.
My feet feel so much softer. They feel like baby's feet.
This easy-to-use soothing balm helps to protect skin against dry, cracked heels.
My feet were so dry and cracked, now I'm not embarrassed to wear sandals anymore.
Just glide it like a roll-on with no mess and no fuss.
Your thoughts on Forte finding some space on this day?
Well, the 2 big runs, but I was actually kind of shocked the Bears. You got to believe that with Grady Jackson, that's a big, beefy defensive tackle. He was hurt. Cliff Averill was hurt. I thought the Bears would run on the edge a little bit more, like slant plays, toss plays more to the outside. Get that big guy running laterally, and then maybe it would have softened up inside. But the Bears hit the 61-yarder early, and probably Ron Turner was saying, hey, that's a soft spot. Let's continue to hit it. And then it obviously was tough sledding after that.
Yeah, run the stretch play, something like that, where you've actually, you saw the Bears offense on a couple of different occasions. They had the Detroit defense stretched out all the way across the line of scrimmage. And that's an excellent opportunity because once you break through and you get to the second level, there's nobody there.
John, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Jakes, what would you say about the offensive push, the initial push? Because it seemed like last game they were having some trouble with that.
Right.
What do you think about the push this game?
At times it got better today, and there's no question about it. And you saw the result of it. Somehow or another, Matt Forte finds that little area to run in. I think Garrett Wolf had a nice little run as well. But that's what you need. You need that offensive line to continuously get off the football and push forward and get away from the line of scrimmage.
And to break it down further, you think about the goal line, we're talking about pulling plays. When you look at it, was Roberto Garza pulls, steps on Jay Cutler's foot, set up the 4th and 1, or not the 4th and 1, but they go for it and get the touchdown on another bootleg naked. Olin Kreutz going against a big, beefy nose tackle. It's tough because Jig's always saying get depth, but on the goal line, you got to take really a tight, a tight angle to get in there, and that's what stuffed the run game down there.
And I think calls on the goal line tell you whether or not you've got that push going. Yeah. When it's 4th and 1 and the chips are on the table and you throw bootleg, roll out, that tells you that that's the strongest part
because usually,
of your game.
Again, by looking at tape, if defenses are slanting one way or the other to the power of the formation or not, or they all on the inside guys pinching. And if they're pinching, that means they're diving into the inside gaps, and that means you have to be out of your mind to try to run in there.
A lot of people talk about the Jay Cutler trade. It certainly has helped out and worked out just fine at the quarterback position. How about the 5th-round pick that they got along with Jay Cutler? That turned into Johnny Knox. He comes through with a 102-yard kickoff return, broke a 21 all tie. He stepped up and talked to our Kip Lewis just moments ago.
Well, guys, one guy that cannot get away from the spotlight is Johnny Knox. And I know Johnny earlier this week in the locker room, you said you're not used to all this media attention, all the people talking to you. You starting to get used to this now?
Yeah, it's starting to pick up, getting used to it, getting the feel of it, feel more comfortable as the weeks go by.
Talk about your kick return for a touchdown. Did anyone even touch you on that play?
Nah, not that play. Halftime, Coach Toe said, this is going to be a big return for us coming out. Got some good blocks. My teammates gave me a good opportunity to go score.
How much confidence, we've asked you this a lot, but how much confidence are you gaining after every game when you come out and make some key plays to help your team?
I feel real confident each game, try to learn from my mistakes when I go in to watch film, just try to build on that each week as the weeks go by.
What are you guys hoping for going into this bye week? What would you guys like to do to take that next step offensively?
Just get some rest in, come in and watch film. That'll give us more time to read Atlanta's defense, pick up on what they do and work on the things that we need to work on.
It's only the 4th week of the season, but for a rookie, you've already been through the OTAs, you've had a long training camp and 4 games. Does it feel like you've been around more than 4 games?
Yeah, it's been real long. I feel like I've been playing football for a long time because, training before the combine and all that and pro day, rookie mini camp and OTA, so it feels like I've been playing football for years.
How do you then, as a rookie, try and make sure you stay well rested and don't sort of hit a wall as you get into the latter part of the season?
Just try to follow what the veterans do, just try to feed off what they do, just try to be a mirror to what they do.
Has this been as fun as you thought it would be coming into the NFL?
It's always been a dream come true, but it's more than what I thought it was.
Johnny, appreciate your time. Johnny Knox with some big catches and, of course, that big kick return for a touchdown, guys. Let's go back to you in the studio.
Kip and Johnny, thank you very much. Here's a look at the kick return game here for the Bears. Earl Bennett and Devin Hester before he left for the injury. 63 yards and 24 yards respectively. Kickoff returns, Johnny 3 for $147 and the score. Daniel Manning, he took over when Knox left with the leg injury, 43 yards. That's a lot of hitting yards, as you like to say.
A ton of them, and one of the things that you hope, though, is that when you start looking at all these guys doing all these different things in terms of the return game, you hope that a guy like Devin Hester is able to come back very quickly, he and Adrian Peterson, after the bye week, because after a while you start running really short on guys with that kind of ability, and the Bears are at that critical point now, I think.
Okay, as a kick returner, you always want to take one back to the house. Always. Johnny Knox changed the momentum, certainly got the Bears going there in the second half with a 102-yard return, the second longest kickoff return in Bears franchise history. But when we were watching it, you guys all threw the flag yourself. Said he didn't take it across the goal line.
He didn't take it to the house. He left it on the front stoop.
Yeah. He left it on the front steps. You got to take it to the house, all the way to the house.
Let's show you this still, because we can't show you moving video at this time on Bears Postgame Live. There it is. Clearly, he's not in the end zone. Ball is out of his hand. Reminds us of Deshaun Jackson of Philadelphia last year?
Last year against the Dallas Cowboys. And what would happen if, let's say, if the Lions would have challenged that, the Bears would still get the ball on the 1-yard line because it wasn't blown dead, and the Lion obviously didn't go after the football. So it still would have been Bears ball, but Lovey's going to say, hey, Rook, finish the play. Act like you've been there before.
We say he's so fast he
lives in the future.
Well, his future would not be bright if that kind of thing continues. So, Johnny, take it to the goal line. You can set it down in there. Just make sure you cross the plane first. The other thing that helped him out, Jigs, was Fox's replays. Every time they showed the replay, they cut to Lovey and some other guys on the sidelines, which was great. It really helped the Bears out, but didn't give the Lions coaches an opportunity to see what we saw.
And you're like, will you please kick the extra point, please? Because, if they had an opportunity to spin that thing back, I think we would be looking at a situation where the offense would have been back out there on the field.
Special teams did do an excellent job.
Great job, yeah.
They executed, and special teams is very, very critical. Like you said, it's those hitting yards, but at the same time, it's all about executing, and they basically executed their plays when they had to.
Jason from Iowa Falls chimes in on CSNChicago.com. 40 finally gets some well-deserved yards on the ground. Go Bears. He goes for 121 yards and the touchdown. Matt Forte has a show on Comcast Sports at Thursday nights, and he also spoke to the media a short time ago.
I'm glad that we came back from that, first game and came back with 3 consecutive wins. And, that shows the character of our team.
Man, I know you were being patient, but how much of a relief is it to break a couple like you did today, just for you personally?
No, it feels good. I mean, that's what you have to do is, keep hitting it. It's not going to always be there. And, you make a play here and, see what happens.
What does that do for the confidence of the offensive line as well?
I think they already had confidence. They know what we can do, and I know what they can do. So, I just feel that, if we just continue to work and continue to, stress the running game, that we can be good.
It was just a matter of Matt, can you just finally got a game like that, but what was the key to it today?
Making plays. The offensive line did an excellent job, pushing them off the ball. And when you get movement off the ball, that's just, that just gives me time to make a move or to read, use my vision to see what's going on in the play.
Matt, Jay talks about not capitalizing in the red zone as much as you'd like, and you guys get 48 points. I mean, that's...
Yeah, that means we could have had, you know, a lot more points because, you know, sometimes on the turnover we got down there and we had to kick a field goal. So, you know, when we get down, you know, a turnover inside the, you know, 30 or 20, we got to turn that into 7 instead of 3.
Your reactions today seemed like you were not relieved that the big runs finally came, but was it kind of like just to shut all the critics up about the running game?
I really don't care about critics. I mean, I know what the running game can do. I know what our team is capable of. So, you know, I was glad that it happened, and you know, I know that we can do even better than that, you know, in the games to come.
How important is it for you personally to go into this bye week with the rushing game that you had today?
It's very important. You know, I was just glad to go out there and get a win.
So you won't watch the highlights anymore tonight or read the paper tomorrow after?
I don't read the paper really anyway because, you know, y'all talk crazy most of the time in it. But, you know, I'll go and watch the film, not highlights.
Well, here's Matt Forte and how he started this game and how he finished it. In the first half, 5 carries, 71 yards. His longest was the 61-yard to start that first drive. And then in the second half, he carries the rock 7 times. His longest there, 37 yards. That happened to be the touchdown. So a bulk of his 121 coming on 2 yards, basically 98 of his 121 coming on 2 plays. On the long 61-yard run there in the first half, didn't exactly see that second and third gear that you like to see, and maybe that has something to do with either the knee injury from last week or the hammy injury he had at Bourbonnais.
Hey, because you look like, usually when you see Matt Forte in that kind of a situation, so long, see you later, he's taking it to the house, but he got caught down on the 5-yard line. However, you know, hey, maybe the guy that caught him runs a 4.2, I don't know. But you expect Matt normally in that situation to get all the way to the end zone. But he did make it 61 yards. That's a long way, too.
Yeah. Well, it also brings up the next question, because here it is, the bye week for the Chicago Bears. What running back do they have to sign? How serious is the injury to Adrian Peterson? I know there's some guys out there, probably Jerry Angelo knows, like Michael Pittman, who is down in Tampa, or J.J. Arrington, who is released by the Denver Broncos. Maybe depending on the significance of the injuries, the Bears may have to add another guy, because I think we know Garrett Wolfe is a little bit smallish if he were to take on an every down role in this offense.
Hey, you know, one of the other things we didn't talk about, Matthew Stafford in that game, when he got taken down, he might have done his knee a whole lot of damage, and we don't know yet because Dante Culpepper came in the game after that, but that was an ugly takedown.
A Bears rush for, you know, over 140 yards on the ground. So the question is the running game back? The Lions were 16th in run defense, so middle of the pack. Do you think it's back, or is there still a lot of work to be done?
There's room. I think there's definitely a room right there. Basically, it starts with the offensive line up front. It starts with that initial push. They have to get that initial push. They have to create some things. Jiggs was saying earlier in the green room that, you know, maybe they need to space out themselves a little bit. Open up their splits a little bit and get Forte going again.
Still to come, we're going to hear from Ron Turner. We'll hear from Greg Olsen, Alex Brown, and others as we step aside. Here's our U.S. Cellular poll question. Has to do with that running game. With the Bears rushing for 151 yards and 3 touchdowns, how do you feel about this running game? A, great, the numbers speak for themselves. B, a bit concerned because they struggled for much of the game. Or C, worried. It was the Lions and Adrian Peterson is hurt. Go to csnchicago.com, vote away. We'll have the results coming up as we take you.
You know, it seemed to be two things. First of all, they were bringing a lot of blitzes and they were getting some pressure, but not enough in the first half. Then it seemed like they just went to their base defense in the second half.